Yo legends! Welcome back to the channel. Grab your headphones and lock in, because today's story is on another level. Want the next chapter? Drop a comment below, and if the legend continues, I'm bringing it straight to you. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. The timeline where Goku destroys Earth. Chapter 21 Shenlong. Please restore Vegeta and H039's memory. When Kakarot Roman 2 put the 7 Dragon Balls together, they immediately sparkled with strange light. Kakarot Roman 2 said excitedly, "When my father was still alive, these Dragon Balls didn't exist. I heard that they were all magic props created by the modern gods when that old immortal created them. I'm afraid he didn't expect that these things would fall into my hands one day, right? Ha 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 ha." Like I asked, Lord Kakarot, how do we use these Dragon Balls? Kakarot Roman 2 did not answer, but looked behind him. Feeling the other party's gaze, Pilaf immediately ran out and said, "Sir, just call out to the Dragon Ball, 'Come out, Shenlong, fulfill my wish,' and you can summon Shenlong to make a wish." "Well, you did a great job. When I rule the world, I will give you a territory." Kakarot Roman 2 looked at Pilaf and the other two with appreciation. Then he winked at them. When he made a wish afterwards, he didn't want to give these 3 guys a chance to cause trouble. The 3 of them understood and immediately moved away. "Bulma, if we let that Demon King make a wish, will the world end?" At this time, Oolong and Bulma had been completely ignored by Kakarot Roman 2 and the others, and the two could only hide in the distance and shiver. Bulma looked at Vegeta, who was still unable to move, then looked into the distance and suddenly had an idea. "Oolong, can't you transform? You're the only one who can save the world." "Me? What are you going to do?" Oolong suddenly became alert, so Kakarot Roman 2 walked up to the Dragon Ball and shouted, "Come out, Shenlong." As soon as the words fell, there was a loud bang. With a loud bang, the sky suddenly darkened. Then dark clouds covered the sky, as if a storm was about to come. An invisible force suddenly penetrated the heaven and earth and landed on the 7 Dragon Balls. In an instant, golden light flashed, and a majestic dragon appeared in the black clouds with its body winding. This is the Shenlong. It was the first time for everyone present to see such a miracle. They all looked up with horror in their eyes, as if they had forgotten everything. The dragon's eyes turned red and it slowly lowered its altitude. "To those who have collected all 7 Dragon Balls, please tell me your wish. No matter what it is, I can fulfill one of it for you." "Great God in heaven, are you watching? I will soon use the dragon you created to destroy the world you protect." Just as Kakarot Roman 2 was about to express his wish, he suddenly saw a small black dot appear next to the dragon. Looking more closely, it turned out to be a bat. "No, why is the bat's head a pig's head?" Kakarot Roman 2 didn't know that this bat was actually transformed by Oolong. Oolong looked at the dragon nearby. It looked much more oppressive from up close than from the ground. "Bulma, if this trick doesn't work, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Shenlong, please help Vegeta regain his memory." "What?" King Kakarot Roman 2 was shocked. How could this pig make a wish before him? Can someone who is not the one who summoned the dragon make a wish? He immediately looked at the dragon, wanting to confirm if this was the case. Fortunately, the dragon in the sky did not seem to respond to this wish. Kakarot Roman 2 thought that the dragon would only respond to those who called him, so he immediately said, "Dragon, I want to be immortal." As Kakarot Roman 2 finished speaking, a resounding voice suddenly echoed in the sky, "Human, I have tried my best to restore Vegeta's memory. Your wish has come true, so goodbye." After saying that, the dragon's body once again transformed into 7 Dragon Balls, which flew to all parts of the world. The sky also became bright again at this time. "Ah, my wish, my wish." Kakarot Roman 2 roared in anger, then pointed at the black dragon in the sky, and a wave of energy immediately flew towards the black dragon. "Ah, Vegeta, help me." Yu turned around and tried to escape, but found it was too late. That energy wave filled with terrifying energy was about to hit him. But at this moment, a figure suddenly stood in front of Wulong, raised his hand lightly, and crushed the energy wave. Vegeta? Who else saved Oolong if not Vegeta? Hey? What's wrong with him? Shansu lowered his head, only to find that only Vegeta's tail was left in his hand. He cut off his own tail. In the air, Vegeta had a gloomy face and veins bulged on his forehead. Idiot! A Saiyan with royal blood can cut off his own tail at will. Saiyan? What is he talking about? No one at the scene could understand what Vegeta was saying. However, Bulma was relieved to see that Vegeta was fine. As long as Vegeta is free, then Kakarot Roman 2 is no longer a threat at all. Vegeta, take care of them for me. Vegeta looked at Bulma, who was screaming below, and his eyes softened in an instant. But this look only lasted for a moment before it turned ferocious again. Vegeta looked at Shansu first and sneered, "How many times did you kick me just now?" Shansu seemed to feel fear and couldn't help but take a step back. But as soon as he stepped onto the ground, he saw Vegeta's feet appear in front of him. Snapped! In just a moment, Sansu's head was kicked to pieces by Vegeta. "And you were the one who hit Bulma just now?" Vegeta's gaze turned to Ricky again. Lord Kakarot. Lai Kai turned around and was about to hide behind Kakarot Roman 2, but Vegeta had already rushed to his side at incredible speed and slapped his body to pieces. "Next, it's you?" When Vegeta turned his head and looked at Kakarot Roman 2, the latter's face was dark, but he was unwilling to show any fear. "You defeated my subordinates in a flash. It seems you are not an ordinary brat. Aren't you a brat too?" Vegeta laughed. "Stop talking nonsense. I haven't transformed yet. Wait until you see my transformation, and I'll see if you can still laugh." Kakarot Roman 2 body suddenly expanded in an instant, turning him from a small man smaller than Vegeta into a muscular man. Then, a fist hit Vegeta's stomach hard. The punch came so suddenly that no one around reacted. Vegeta seemed to do the same, allowing the fists to hit him. Kakarot Roman 2 thought he had succeeded and a grim smile appeared on his face. But his smile only lasted for a second before turning into astonishment. Vegeta looked at him expressionlessly and said coldly, "That's it. How come? How can you be so powerful as a human being?" "Because I am from the fighting nation, a Saiyan." With a loud bang, Vegeta's figure turned into an afterimage in the eyes of Kakarot Roman 2. The next moment, there was a sharp pain. Chapter 22. Do you still need to practice? At this moment, Vegeta, with the power of the dragon, has almost completely recovered his memory. Although his body is still only 17 years old, his soul and memory have transformed back into that of the 56-year-old Saiyan. Whenever he thought of the humiliation he had suffered at the hands of these demons, Vegeta seemed to have turned back into the cruel and tyrannical Saiyan prince who had first arrived on Earth. It seemed like a simple punch, but before it even hit Kakarot Roman 2, the wind from the punch went straight through his body. The next moment, the terrible power from the fist spread along the gap to all over Kakarot Roman 2 body. Impossible. Kakarot Roman 2 face was distorted, and he looked at Vegeta, who was grinning in front of him, in disbelief. Apart from the gods, why are there such powerful opponents in this world? Oh, yes. I have one more trick. Kakarot Roman 2 also has a special skill called Death Black Hole. Once it is used, he can create an artificial black hole leading to the void out of thin air. No matter who it is, once they enter the black hole, they will never be able to escape. This is Kakarot Roman 2 last resort. As long as we use that move, no matter how powerful the guy in front of us is, he will not be able to escape. Thinking of this, Kakarot Roman 2 immediately waved his hands. Wait. Vegeta stopped. "Do you have any last words?" I admit that you are very strong. But no matter how strong you are, you may not be able to withstand my next move." Do you have the courage to try? After saying that, Carrick Roman too looked at Vegeta expectantly. Although they only met for a brief moment, he could tell that this kid should be an arrogant guy, and as long as he gave him a chance, he would be able to make a comeback. Do you have any more powerful tricks? That sounds interesting. Vegeta held his chin, looking somewhat moved. When Carrick Roman too saw this, he was immediately delighted, thinking that his plan had succeeded. But he didn't know that this trick might actually work on the young Vegeta. However, what he is facing at this moment is Vegeta, who came with the last hope after witnessing the Z-Warriors on Earth die one by one at the hands of Kakarot. Today's Vegeta will no longer allow himself to make unforgivable mistakes due to excessive arrogance and self-confidence as he did in the past, and so die. When Carrick Roman too saw Vegeta suddenly raise his hand towards him, he was stunned. But he thought quickly and suddenly opened his bloody mouth and spit out a shock wave towards Vegeta. Just as Carrick Roman too shock wave was about to hit Vegeta, the latter suddenly took a deep breath, and then the energy in his body burst out with all his strength. Boom! The shock wave that was about to hit Vegeta was easily dispersed by his burst of energy. Carrick Roman too watched all this in disbelief. Yamcha, who was originally unconscious, was awakened by Vegeta's breath and asked in horror, "Krillin, who is that kid?" "I don't know, but it looks like we're going to be saved. This must be a dream. Otherwise, why would there be such a powerful master in this world?" "Yes, it was a dream. It must be a dream. As long as I escape from here, the dream will end." This thought instantly came to Carrick Roman too's mind, and he turned around and wanted to escape. "Don't even think about it." Seeing through his intention, Vegeta suddenly flew in front of Carrick Roman too, punched him from bottom to top, and knocked him into the sky. Immediately afterwards, Vegeta pinched out a blue energy ball in his hand and threw it at Carrick Roman too. As the two collided in midair, the calm sky suddenly boiled, and violent energy swept across the ground in an instant. Sure enough, this is a dream. In this huge explosion, Carrick Roman too ended his life without being able to use his ultimate move. 1. Bulma and Oolong cheered, holding hands. Their gamble paid off. Krillin and Yamcha were stunned. Who on earth was this short guy? Why is there someone more powerful than their teacher Wu Qian? Ah, Oolong. Yamcha's pet Pool suddenly recognized Oolong. "Pool, do you know him?" Yamcha asked. The crisis was finally over, and because Pool and Oolong were classmates in kindergarten, the two sides became familiar with each other. "So it was Teacher Wu Qian who asked you to come? It seems that Teacher Wu Qian has already noticed that we are not very good at learning." Krillin and Yamcha were both a little discouraged. After this trip, they thought they were invincible. Unexpectedly, he almost couldn't defeat a few demons. If it weren't for Vegeta, he would have died long ago. "Yamcha, it looks like we have to go back and continue our training." "Yes." Seeing that Krillin and Yamcha were planning to go back and continue training with Master Mutant, Bulma and Oolong seemed a little lost for a moment. "Bulma, the Dragon Balls are gone. Should we disband?" asked Oolong. Bulma nodded. "That's all we can do. What are your plans?" Oolong hesitated for a moment and said, "You live in Zidu, right? Are there a lot of girls there? How about I go with you? You are so timid and lazy, no girl should like you, right?" Bulma chuckled. Oolong immediately yelled, "What do you care? Don't forget, I saved you and Vegeta." After the two men discussed whether to stay or go, they looked at Vegeta, who had been standing aside and had not spoken much since the destruction of Carrick Roman II. Come to think of it, this kid seems like a different person after recovering his memory, Oolong said. Bulma nodded and agreed. Although the original Vegeta was very powerful, he felt somewhat like a child to her. But since he regained his memory, his temperament suddenly seemed like that of an adult. "Vegeta, where are you going next? Are you going back to Baozi Mountain?" "No, I want to go to Master Roshi to train," Vegeta replied. "Ugh, In the distance, Krillin and Yamcha both had their mouths open. Krillin, did I hear wrongly? That kid named Vegeta also wants to train with Master Mutant. You must have heard correctly, but does he still need to practice? Bulma also looked puzzled. Vegeta, I think you are much better than that old pervert, aren't you? What else can you learn from him? No, I have to go there. Vegeta insisted. After recovering his memory, he has remembered what he should do. It took him 8 years to get to Earth, which delayed his plans a lot. Now it is time to relive Kakarot's growth journey on Earth as he originally envisioned. Vegeta thought that he had already trained with Son Gohan for a year, so the next step would be Master Roshi. After all, in the original work, Kakarot, or Son Goku's journey to becoming a martial artist began with Master Roshi. Chapter 23 He Came from Heaven. Well, it's up to you then. Seeing that she couldn't convince Vegeta, Bulma had to spread her hands. But the Dragon Balls will be restored in a year. If I want to collect more Dragon Balls by then, you have to be my bodyguard. Vegeta glanced at her with some disdain. Why? Hey, this time, all my wishes are for you. Don't you know how to repay the kindness? All right. Vegeta had no choice but to surrender. If it weren't for the fact that you and my wife are the same person, I wouldn't agree to you. That's right. Vegeta suddenly thought of something. Bulma, if you go back, can you go down to Bayazi Mountain first? There is something over there. I hope you can fix it. Vegeta then revealed the crash site of the spaceship that brought him to Earth. He may need to leave the Earth and go into the universe in the future. Then it would be better to let Bulma prepare for him in advance. Bayazi Mountain? What could be there? Although Bulma felt strange, she still made note of it. After taking note of what Vegeta said, it was now Bulma's turn to think of something. By the way, Vegeta, let me give you my home address. If you finish your training early, come find me. My home is I know. It's the headquarters of Zeta Universal Capsule Company. Vegeta suddenly revealed the address of Bulma's house. Hey, how do you know where my home is? Bulma was startled. I don't remember telling you where my home is. Could it be Vegeta? You are a stalker. How can it be? Vegeta yelled, but he looked embarrassed. Just now he casually mentioned the address of Bulma's house, but forgot that he had never been there in this world. Vegeta's reaction made Bulma feel even more suspicious. But she soon felt relieved. Forget it. My family is so famous. It seems that you have already discovered my identity. Are you honored to travel with me, the daughter of the Universal Capsule Company? Vegeta was speechless. Is this what your wife looked like when she was young? After saying goodbye to everyone one by one, Bulma boarded a flying vehicle and flew to Bayazi Mountain with Wulong. Looking at the crowd below, which was gradually getting smaller, Bulma stroked her lavender hair and thought, if I wished Shenlong to give me a handsome boyfriend, what would he be like? Would he be as handsome as Yamcha? Or Vegeta's figure suddenly flashed before Bulma's eyes. Impossible. A little fellow like that. After watching Bulma go away, Vegeta then looked at Krillin and Yamcha. These two guys were old acquaintances in his memory, especially Krillin, who made him suffer a lot back then. I just didn't expect that this kid has been so short since he was a child. Hey, Chillin, let's go to Master Kame. What, Baldlin? My name is Klin. Krillin retorted, then turned and asked, Yamcha, where's your flying machine? Yamcha reached into his pocket and said, Huh? Where's my universal capsule? Did I lose it during the fight? No way. It takes several hours to fly from here to Kame Island. Do we have to walk back? Vegeta was speechless again. These stupid earthlings, if it wasn't for Kakarot, how could he have lost to them? He jumped on the spot, flew into the air, and stretched out his hands to the two people. Hold me, I will take you there. Fei is up. Krillin and Yamcha were both shocked. They didn't expect Vegeta could actually fly. Why would such a strong guy want to practice with us? I do not know either. In this way, Vegeta flew to Kame Island with Krillin, Yamcha, and his pet pool. At this time, neither Vegeta nor Bulma noticed that it was far away in the sky. Temple of Heaven. The gods stood blankly at the edge of the temple, looking at the underworld. Mr. Popo, it's really just as you said. This kid named Vegeta really saved the world. Ever since Kakarot Roman II awoke, the gods have been keeping an eye on the child of their old rival. When Kakarot Roman II collected all the Dragon Balls and was about to make a wish, he even wanted to come down to Earth to stop it. But just then, his servant Mr. Popo stopped him and said that the child named Vegeta might be able to prevent the catastrophe. The result was exactly as he said. Bobo, dressed in black, stood respectfully beside the god and said in a calm tone, "Don't worry, God. I think that with this child named Vegeta on Earth, everything will be fine." Really? But this child is from the universe after all. His origins do concern me a little, the god muttered to himself. Not long after, in the valley deep in Bayazi Mountain. It should be nearby. Son Gohan took Bulma and Oolong and searched through the mountains and forests. Their target is Vegeta's spaceship. Son Gohan was also quite surprised when he learned that Vegeta had recovered his memory and planned to go to Master Roshi to practice. He originally planned to let Vegeta go to Master Roshi, but he didn't expect that this kid would actually ask to go on his own initiative. It's a pity that Vegeta didn't come back with him, otherwise he would like to ask him why this child seemed to know so much about him and Master Roshi. He is clearly a child from heaven. As for what Bulma later said, that Vegeta wanted her to find something, Son Gohan immediately understood what it was. Although only 1 year has passed since the original incident. But in these mountains, 1 year is enough time for everything to change dramatically. The densely grown plants have completely covered up the traces of the spacecraft crash. Grandpa, how long are we going to have to search for it? How about we search for it in the sky in a flying vehicle? Because of Vegeta's presence these days, Bulma hasn't walked in the mountains for such a long time and is a little exhausted. Wu Long next to him was so tired that he kept sticking out his tongue. What exactly does Vegeta want us to find? Bulma, let's just go to the western capital. Oops. As they were talking, Wu Long's feet suddenly slipped and he rolled into a pit. Son Gohan looked back and immediately smiled. Right here. It turned out that the place where Wu Long rolled down was the deep pit caused by the crash of the spacecraft. When the two of them arrived in front of the half-destroyed spaceship, Bulma, a genius, immediately recognized that this could not be a product of Earth. Grandpa Gohan, this is what Vegeta showed you. He came here sitting with this a year ago. This one. Bulma was dumbfounded. She suddenly remembered that after Vegeta recovered his memory, he once said that he was a Saiyan. So, he really is an alien from the sky? Chapter 24 Vegeta and 039's Martial Arts. You want to practice with me? On Kame Island, Master Kame looked at Vegeta, who suddenly came back with his 2 disciples, with a dazed look on his face and snot about to flow. Is this kid kidding? His strength is enough to kill me hundreds of times. Is there any need for him to practice with me? What's more, what on earth happened to this kid? Why do I feel that he is more terrifying now than he was half a day ago? Teacher, please cheer up. You are the god of martial arts. Yamcha and Krillin cheered from the side, although they didn't think their master could give any advice to the monster called Vegeta. But Master Roshi is their master after all, and represents the face of the Roshi-Ryu school. How could he say such discouraging words? Old man, if you dare to refuse me, I will kill you, Vegeta threatened coldly. Also, I'm not seeking to be your disciple, I just want you to guide me in my practice. To be honest, in his previous life, Vegeta treated these earthlings like ants and looked down upon their training methods at all. But after seeing no hope of defeating Kakarot with his own efforts, he now had no choice but to re-examine the Earthlings' way of cultivation. Master Roshi's expression suddenly became serious, because he heard that Vegeta's tone seemed a little different from when they first met. Vegeta, has your memory returned? Yes, Shenlong has restored my memory. Master Roshi stroked his beard, curious about Vegeta's motivation for seeking training from him. From Son Gohan, he already knew that Vegeta seemed to be an alien from heaven. He is just an alien who came all the way to Earth and actually asked to practice under Son Gohan. After recovering his memory, he came back to himself. There's something a bit weird about this. What's more, although Vegeta in front of him is short and looks like a child, he does not have the innocence of a child at all. Master Roshi could teach Vegeta how to practice, but he didn't want to reveal the secrets of Roshi's practice to an evil person because of his carelessness. Vegeta, now that you have recovered your memory, can you tell me why you want to train with me and Gohan? I need a reason that can convince me. Otherwise, even if you kill me, I will not teach you anything. Cut. Vegeta snorted coldly and glanced at Krillin and others beside him. Master Kame understood and said to them, Krillin, Yamcha, Lan Kai hasn't come back from buying groceries yet. Go find her teacher Yamcha. Let's just listen to the teacher. After the two of them left on the boat, the only person left at the scene besides Vegeta and Master Kame was a turtle pretending to be asleep. Vegeta ignored the turtle and said directly, Old man, you may not believe what I am going to say next, but what I say is true. After that, Vegeta told the whole story that he had traveled from another world through the power of the dragon. For Vegeta, there is nothing to hide about the parallel world. Anyway, the world seems to have changed because of his arrival. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain why Kakarot's spaceship has not landed on Earth until now. So instead of being vague, it is better to be clear, so that Master Roshi will not hide anything about his training techniques. Vegeta, who was impatient, spoke quickly and skipped over some things about his invasion of Earth and fusion with the souls of the other world in his previous life. But he spoke every word clearly, because he didn't just say these words to Master Roshi, but also to Master Cat on Galinta and the gods in the sky. Vegeta could bet that these two gods from Earth must be eavesdropping on his conversation with Master Roshi at this moment. In fact, this is indeed the case, in the distant Galinta and in the temple of the gods above Galinta. At this moment, Sage Garin and the god were indeed holding their breath and listening quietly to Vegeta's explanation. After a while, when Vegeta finished explaining, Master Roshi took a deep breath. How could that be? According to you, how could Sun Wukong, who once saved the world, become a demon that destroyed the world? Master Roshi just felt as if he had listened to an incredible story. But the problem is that he has mastered the art of mind reading, and while listening to Vegeta's story, he also used mind reading to verify Vegeta's words. What this kid said was actually true. I don't know either. But Piccolo, who merged with the gods in our world, once said that it might be because when Kakarot's head was attacked by the reincarnation of the demon orb, it happened to be invaded by the remaining demon aura and orb's body coupled with the Saiyan evil personality in Kakarot. The two coincidences overlapped and made him become like that. As to whether this is true or not, no one can explain it clearly now. Master Roshi wiped his forehead and found that his head was covered with cold sweat. After wiping it, he said, I roughly understand what you mean, but even if you succeed in surpassing Sun Wukong in our world, what happens after that? Can you still return to your original world? There will be a way, Vegeta said a little unsurely, because he wasn't 100% sure. But he knew that the world he was in now was very different from his original world. Since there is a god of destruction in this world, then according to the memories of the souls from another world, this should be a main universe. But in the main universe, there are Super Dragon Balls. With the power of the Super Dragon Balls, perhaps he could return to his original world. Well, then I am willing to guide you in your practice. Master Roshi nodded. But before that, Vegeta, I want to see the way you fight, your martial arts. In terms of strength, Master Roshi was actually unable to keep up with the protagonist team in the middle period of the Dragon Ball world, but in terms of his understanding of martial arts, he is definitely one of the strongest people at the top of the Dragon Ball world. Master Roshi naturally knows the principle of teaching students in accordance with their aptitude. Therefore, he wanted to see how Vegeta fought first so that he could formulate a training plan for the future. Then you just keep an eye on it. Vegeta said this and immediately mobilized all the strength in his body at the moment. Suddenly, an overwhelming momentum surged from him and turned into a strong wind, blowing everything around toppled. There were even huge waves on the sea near Turtle Island. What a terrifying power! Master Roshi stuck his cane into the ground for support and just barely managed to avoid being blown away by the storm. According to Vegeta, his current strength is not even 1% of what it was in his original world. Master Roshi simply couldn't imagine, if Vegeta recovered to his full strength, what a terrifying power that would be. And that Son Goku, who is even more powerful than Vegeta, I'm afraid you have an extremely difficult road ahead. When the power exploded to its peak, Vegeta closed his eyes and imagined the figure of Son Goku in front of him. Kakarot, this is my martial arts. The next moment, he started fighting with this imaginary figure with real swords and guns in reality. For a moment, the sky above Kame Island was filled with the sounds of Vegeta's fists and feet. From time to time, there is the sound of energy waves exploding that Vegeta releases during battle. The sound was so loud that even Krillin and the others who were already far away from Kame Island could hear it. Krillin and Yamcha's boat had been affected by the sudden wind and waves on the sea, and was rising and falling in wave after wave. Yamcha clung to the boat and screamed in fear. Krillin, what's that noise? I don't know either. Could it be Vegeta? The explosion on Kame Island became more and more intense. When it seemed that it was about to affect the small island, Master Kame could not help but scream. Vegeta! Stop it. I already understand. Vegeta then stopped and returned to the island. This is pretty much my fighting style. Master Roshi wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, then turned back and forth on the ground a few times. Vegeta, were you imagining fighting Son Goku in your mind just now? You figured it out? Vegeta was a little surprised. I can see a little bit. Master Roshi adjusted his sunglasses. You said that Sun Wukong once trained with me? I roughly understand why you said that even though you have the same strength as Sun Wukong, you often lose in battle. Chapter 25. Is this considered cultivation? Vegeta naturally did not easily believe Master Roshi's words. How can an old man like you understand something that I haven't understood in decades of life just by taking a few glances? Tell me, why is that? Master Kame smiled mysteriously. You should practice for a while first, and during this time you will slowly experience it, and perhaps you will be able to figure out the answer. Or do you think that you may not be able to figure it out, and need me to explain it to you first? A mysterious guy. Vegeta gritted his teeth and said, Don't underestimate me. I'm the Prince of the Saiyans. Okay, then next, are you going to start practicing? Vegeta clenched his fists, ready to respond to any request from Master Roshi. No, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's have tea first. Boom! Vegeta couldn't help but faint. Not long after, a small boat floated on the sea. But what surprised Vegeta was that in front of the boat, there were 2 figures swimming desperately. When they got closer to Vegeta, they realized that the 2 figures were Krillin and Yamcha. On the small boat, a blonde woman was holding a machine gun and firing at the sea. A half-inch long fire snake shot out from the barrel and followed the 2 people. Vegeta, our training will begin tomorrow. You will be the one to handle this first. Master Roshi seemed to have seen something terrifying and immediately hid in the house. Vegeta, help! Krillin, who had already swam to the shore, hid behind Vegeta in a panic. The next moment, bullets rained down on him presumptuous. Vegeta's eyes were as fast as lightning. He put all the bullets into his fist and then threw a Qigong bomb over. The boat immediately exploded on the sea, and a blonde woman flew onto the beach in the smoke and dust, with stars in her eyes. Later, Vegeta learned from Yamcha that this woman was Lan Kai, who was currently taking care of Master Roshi and his disciples together with Pool. In this way, Vegeta, Master Roshi and others began their formal training after he recovered his memory. In the original world, Vegeta never learned how to practice from anyone. All of his cultivation methods were figured out by himself. During the period of Frieza's army, Vegeta's way of training was to fight constantly and hone himself on the brink of life and death. After arriving on Earth, Vegeta heard that Son Goku had used a gravity chamber for training, so he stayed at Bulma's house and relied on the artificial gravity chamber she built to constantly hone his body. Therefore, the training of Kame-sen-ryu was an unprecedented experience for Vegeta. It also made him completely unable to understand. On the first day of training, Master Roshi left the island with 4 people and a pet, Pool, and moved his family to another larger island nearby. After moving the house using the universal capsule, Master Roshi threw a large black turtle shell on the ground. Vegeta, when we practice Kame-sen-ryu, we all have to wear this to train. You must be kidding. Why would I, a Saiyan prince, wear this stupid thing? Vegeta was looking disdainful when he saw Krillin and Yamcha had each silently carried a turtle shell on their backs. Vegeta, Master Mutant is not kidding you. We do have to carry this thing on our backs when we practice, Krillin explained. Because of their poor performance in the Demon Castle, he and Yamcha have been asked by Master Roshi to be retrained. The 2 of them will continue to practice with Vegeta. After experiencing setbacks, the 2 of them have calmed down and no longer complained about the boring training in the past, especially with Vegeta by their side. Vegeta, this tortoise shell is very heavy, but wearing it can enhance the effectiveness of our training. Yamcha stood by and acted like a senior brother. Damn it, Vegeta gritted his teeth and finally put on the turtle shell. However, unlike Krillin and Yamcha who had just put on the tortoise shell, Vegeta looked normal after putting on the tortoise shell. On the contrary, Krillin and Yamcha didn't feel anything at first, but as soon as they took a step, they looked embarrassed. Teacher, why does this turtle shell feel wrong? Asked Yamcha. The tortoise shell I gave you at the beginning was only 20 kilograms. This time I added a little weight to you, so now you are carrying a 50-kilogram tortoise shell. Master Roshi explained. 50 kilograms. Yamcha couldn't help but fell to the ground. Master Yamcha. Cool couldn't help but want to help him up. I'm fine. Yamcha got up with a red face. Seeing Vegeta calm beside him, he couldn't help but ask curiously, Teacher, what about Vegeta's? He's 200 kilograms. Boom. This time even Krillin fell. 200 kilograms. Then why is he fine? Vegeta crossed his arms and said with disdain, Idiot, the gravity of the Saiyan home planet is 10 times that of the Earth. A mere 200 kilograms only makes me feel a little heavier. Boom. Krillin and Yamcha couldn't help but fall down again. Okay, old man. Tell me how to practice today. Vegeta looked at Master Roshi running. Master Roshi said with a smile, running? Vegeta frowned. Can this be considered training? All right, kids, let's go like usual. Vegeta follows me. Krillin and Yamcha follow him. Just as Master Kame was about to take a step, he reminded him, Vegeta, try to control your energy when running, and only use your physical strength to run with us. Suppress your aura. I understand. Because his memory was restored, Vegeta had remembered the technique that he had mastered after the time travel. Soon, Master Roshi noticed that Vegeta's originally unfathomable aura had become weaker than that of Krillin and the others. This kid then lets go. The training of Turtle School is very arduous. Master Roshi took the lead, his steps brisk. As for Vegeta, he was not in a hurry. Even if he suppressed his aura, with his current strength, running was not a problem at all. Afterwards, the group of 4 ran 10 kilometers in a row. Because they had changed into their tortoise shells, the running that Krillin and Yamcha should have been accustomed to actually made them gasp for air. But seeing that Vegeta looked calm, the two of them endured it. Seeing the looks of his two disciples, Master Roshi felt happy. It seems that having Vegeta practice with them is a stimulation for the two disciples. As for Vegeta, although he couldn't show it on his face, he was complaining in his heart. So stupid. This hermit Roshi said he was running, but his running rhythm was very strange. Not only did it speed up and slow down, it even kept changing lanes and repeatedly passed through the trees on both sides of the road. What is the purpose of running like this other than wasting energy? Is this also considered a spiritual practice? I almost forgot. When you run, you have to follow me and shout 1, 2, 1. Master Roshi, who was leading the race, suddenly said. Huh? Vegeta was stunned. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Krillin and Yamcha both shouted along. Only Vegeta thought this was too stupid and refused to give in. In response, Master Roshi just smiled. Vegeta, if that guy were training with me, he would probably shout 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. Vegeta shouted immediately. Damn Kakarot! I must surpass you. Chapter 26, The Training Principles of Kame-sen-ryu. Soon, the master and his 4 apprentices arrived at a milk station. Do you want to rest? I still have plenty of energy. Vegeta folded his arms and complained as he walked over to a box of milk. Compared to his past training, this was just a 10-kilometer run, not even a warm-up. What good can practicing with just this little amount of exercise do? But at this moment, he saw Krillin and Yamcha both holding up a box of milk. Vegeta, don't be lazy. Our next training will be delivering milk. Krillin said. Delivering milk. I am a great. Before Vegeta could finish his words, Kame-sen, who had just finished talking to the staff, came over and said, Vegeta, delivering milk is also part of Kame-sen's training. Hateful. Vegeta complained and picked up a box. But when he saw that Krillin and Yamcha only took 1 box each, he increased the amount for himself and directly picked up 3 boxes. Teacher Wu-chan, is this your new disciple? This kid is so strong, the staff member nearby said with some surprise. You are not my disciple, you are just practicing with me. Master Kame explained, then smiled and said to Vegeta, carrying milk is not that easy. Vegeta, are you sure you want to carry 3 boxes at a time? Of course, Vegeta said without hesitation. But soon, he understood what the smirk on Master Roshi's face meant. The so-called milk delivery means delivering milk to every household on the island on foot. For Vegeta, this is naturally not a problem. But the problem is that the milk in their boxes is in glass bottles, which can easily break if the movement is too big. Therefore, when Vegeta runs, he must always pay attention to the movements of his hands so as not to let the milk experience too much vibration. In this kind of situation, combat effectiveness becomes insignificant and skills become more important. But the problem is that the path that Master Roshi chose next was completely different from the path he had run before. Deserts, cliffs, rivers, we go wherever it is difficult to go. Therefore, you must maintain mental concentration throughout the whole process. By the time the delivery was complete, even Vegeta was beginning to feel a little tired. It's not physical fatigue, but mental fatigue. As for Krillin and Yamcha, they collapsed to the ground due to exhaustion. Vegeta, can you still hold on? Master Roshi asked with a smile. Of course. Very good, from now on, running and delivering milk will be our morning training, and the afternoon training will be plowing the land. Farmland. Vegeta almost lost his temper again. He is a Saiyan prince, and yet he has to farm? Yes, and you have to do it with your bare hands. And you have to make sure that the depth of the ground you dig is the same. There can't be any difference in depth. Can this also be considered cultivation? Did Kakarot really do this kind of training? Vegeta wanted to say that he must have made a mistake. But when he looked at the fused soul memories, he discovered that Kakarot had actually received this kind of training. So he could only complain secretly while digging the fields with Klin and the others. Hermit Roshi was smoking his pipe leisurely on the side, while the old couple who owned the land nearby were laughing so hard that they couldn't stop. This kind of training, which left Vegeta speechless, continued until sunset. Although it was obviously a training method that could not be compared with gravity training, Vegeta was sweating profusely in the end and felt more exhausted than staying in the gravity room for a whole day. On the way back, Master Roshi asked Vegeta how he felt today. Small idea. Vegeta said stubbornly, I can continue this kind of training for a whole day and night. Liar. Why is this guy so stubborn? Krillin and Yamcha, who were already exhausted, looked unconvinced. Master Kame smiled and nodded, then continued to ask, do you understand the significance of this kind of practice? Vegeta thought for a long time, but could only utter 2 words. No. Never mind the meaning. If we didn't know that Sun Wukong had undergone the same training. Vegeta almost thought that Master Roshi was playing a trick on him. Delivering milk, tilling the fields. Would this kind of practice really help him? Master Roshi smiled and shook his head. Vegeta, I heard you say that when you first met Son Goku, your strength was far superior to his, but you only fought him and both of you were injured? Can you figure out the reason behind this? If you can figure it out, you will understand the meaning of our current practice. Vegeta glanced at him and said, Old man, you better not lie to me. The next day, the practice continued. In the morning, the 4 masters and apprentices ran and delivered milk, and in the afternoon, they plowed the fields day to day. Vegeta seemed to have returned to the boring life of daily training after defeating Majin Buu. But after practicing this for a whole week, he still gained nothing. I still can't figure out the answers to Master Roshi's questions. And even though he practiced every day, Vegeta didn't realize that his strength had improved at all. This made Vegeta extremely frustrated and angry. Do you really want to continue to persevere? Because 8 years were wasted in the universe, plus the punishment of the law of time. Not to mention surpassing Kakarot, Vegeta's current strength is even inferior to when he first traveled through time. Instead of persisting like this without any clue, it would be better to return to the training method of the past, ask Bulma to build a gravity room, and train with the gravity of continuously increasing multiples. As if sensing Vegeta's impatience, Master Kame suddenly asked Vegeta to stop practicing for a day. After Krillin and Yamcha went to practice as usual, Master Roshi took Vegeta to take a hot spring bath. Vegeta, are you too nervous? Can't you relax a little? In the scorching hot spring, Master Roshi was soaking in the water with a relaxed look on his face. But Vegeta did not just rest like this. Even in the hot spring, he closed his brows and practiced meditation. Old man, you don't understand at all. I don't have time to rest you, kid. Isn't that Sun Wukong in another world? He can't come over. Why are you so anxious? The way you are now is not the way we practice with the turtle school at all. What? Vegeta opened his eyes and said with some dissatisfaction, why not? I have done everything you asked. What about rest? Do you think I don't know that you meditate during your lunch break every day? Vegeta was speechless. In between their training in the morning and afternoon every day, Master Roshi would take them for a nap. But Vegeta didn't want to waste time, so when Master Roshi and the others were sleeping, he would close his eyes and meditate. Exercise well, have fun, study well, and rest well. This is the training purpose of our Kame-sen-ryu. You just keep increasing your training. Can you say that you have done everything I asked of you? Chapter 27 Departure. I just don't want to waste time. Vegeta couldn't refute, so he had to make an excuse. But I think that Sun Wukong must be doing what I said, right? You also said that he was a good boy before his personality changed. Master Kame sighed softly, so, if you want to find the answer, just do as I say, otherwise you will just be wasting your time here. So, take a break. Vegeta, who was soaking in the water, suddenly felt that there seemed to be some kind of magic in Master Roshi's voice. His vision began to blur and his consciousness became groggy. Not long after, Vegeta fell asleep under Master Kame's hypnosis. Old son, you don't plan to go into the spirit time room again? Don't you have a whole day? Being there, even if I don't do anything, it's very hard on my body. I think I should take a good rest. HMPH, even Kakarot can't stand the environment there. Maybe. If I continue, I will only make my body suffer. This is not cultivation. In his dream, Vegeta suddenly saw the scene on the eve of the Cell Games when Goku had just left the Spirit Time Chamber with Gohan. At that time, he thought that Sun Wukong didn't want to enter the spiritual time house again because he couldn't bear the hardship. But now Vegeta suddenly opened his eyes from his dream. The dream just now finally made him understand one thing. It turns out that Sun Wukong at that time was not unable to endure hardship, but was practicing the training principles of the Turtle School. The next day, after a day's rest, Vegeta continued his training. After finishing their morning training, Vegeta, Master Roshi, and his apprentice continued their lunch break as usual. They tied 4 hammocks between several trees in the wild. Krillin and Yamcha had just laid down when they heard Vegeta's snoring beside them. Huh? Vegeta, this kid actually fell asleep today? It seems that even Vegeta can't endure the hard training of Master. Krillin and Yamcha both thought that Vegeta was truly tired. Only Master Roshi smiled. This kid seems to have understood the answer to the question. Practice well and have a good rest. Vegeta murmured in his sleep. He had indeed understood the gap between himself and Sun Wukong in the past. That is, in cultivation, Sun Wukong never forces himself. His practice is to keep himself in the best condition at all times and enjoy the practice while doing so. In contrast, Vegeta's training method in the past was to constantly squeeze the potential of his body. Between the two, perhaps in the early stages, Vegeta's method of practice is more effective, but whenever one's potential has been almost exhausted, Sun Wukong's practice is more effective. Because for him, spiritual practice is a kind of life and a kind of enjoyment. Therefore, Sun Wukong will never get tired or disgusted with his practice, and there is no limit to his practice. However, after reaching his limit, Vegeta becomes stagnant. Because he could no longer see the road ahead, he thought he had reached the end. Unless Sun Wukong points out a new direction for him, Vegeta can take this as his goal and continue his new path of training. Damn it, why didn't I realize this simple truth before? Having figured everything out, Vegeta became full of energy in his subsequent training. Practice well, rest well. Vegeta finally understood the training purpose of Kame-sen-ryu, and gradually, even the problems that troubled him the most at the beginning seemed to have answers. What is the significance of this practice? Why do I often lose in battle even though I have the same strength as Kakarot? How is Kakarot stronger than Vegeta? The reason is that the two of them have fundamentally different ways of looking at power. In the past, Vegeta believed that strength was fighting power and energy. Therefore, his past practice had only one purpose, which was to improve his combat effectiveness and increase his energy. Now he understood that combat effectiveness, or energy, did not mean everything. The so-called combat effectiveness was, from the very beginning, just a way for Frieza's army to judge strength by measuring energy. Otherwise, with the same difference in combat power, why couldn't he, who had a combat power of 1 when he first arrived on Earth, instantly kill Kakarot, who only had a combat power of 8? And then, even though I had a combat power of 2, I was able to easily kill Dodoria, whose combat power was only 4 lower than mine. Even if Kakarot used the Kaioken, his performance in actual combat was far worse. So true power should include more than just energy. Fighting skills, the ability to use force, as well as combat experience and will, are also factors that constitute strength. When Vegeta told Master Kame about his realization, the latter asked, "So, Vegeta, can you answer that question now? Why do you often lose in battles even though you have the same strength as Sun Wukong?" "It's a difference in skills," Vegeta recalled. "If our strength is 10, then in battle, I'm afraid I can only exert 10 out of 8, but Kakarot can exert 9 or even 10. Master Roshi's mouth corners slightly raised and he nodded with satisfaction. "Vegeta, keep training with this intention in mind. In a month, you will be able to become a master here." "I understand." The training of Kame-sen-ryu continues. Practice, rest, live. Vegeta today is completely different from the confused person he was when he first arrived. He devoted himself fully to the training of Kame-sen-ryu and no longer cared about improving his strength in the short term. In this way, the sun rose and set and a month passed quickly. On this day, Master Roshi announced, "Vegeta, your training with me can come to an end today. You have learned everything I can teach you. You already have your own martial arts. I believe that in time, you will be able to defeat that Son Goku." "Thank you, old man." Looking at Master Roshi's smile, Vegeta's nose actually felt a little sour. This old human being, whom he had looked down upon in the past, had now made Vegeta admire him after their interactions over the past few days. Even in terms of strength, Master Roshi could not even rank in the top 10 among the strong people on Earth. But his understanding of martial arts is unmatched by anyone. "Krillin, Yamcha, come here. Say goodbye to Vegeta." Krillin and Yamcha were a little surprised to learn that Vegeta was leaving. "Only 2 months have passed since I first arrived at Turtle Island. Could it be that in just 2 months Vegeta had completed his training? Compared to them who have been training under Master Roshi for more than a year, isn't this too discouraging?" Yamcha, in particular, couldn't help but feel a sense of competition when looking at Vegeta in front of him. For some reason, Yamcha had always felt that Vegeta was somewhat hostile towards him since their first meeting. Correspondingly, Yamcha also developed a sense of competition towards Vegeta. Now that he knew the latter was leaving, Yamcha couldn't help but have an idea. "Vegeta, before you leave, can you spar with me?" Chapter 28 Idon -039 T miss you. "Ah, Yamcha, are you serious?" Krillin asked, somewhat confused. "A sparring match with Vegeta? Is there any need to guess the result? They are not aliens like Vegeta. Dare to challenge me? Frivolous guy, I recognize your courage." Vegeta agreed with a sneer. Krillin looked at the two of them, and his eyes suddenly became firm. "Vegeta, count me in. Yamcha and I will take on you." "It's all right." Vegeta was naturally not afraid. "Then Vegeta, you should suppress your aura and fight them." "Krillin, Yamcha, you can take off your shells," Master Roshi suggested from the side. Although it sounded a bit contemptuous of the two people, neither Yamcha nor Krillin objected. "Because if we don't do this, the gap between the two sides will be too big. But if their power is restricted, the two do not think that they will have much difference with Vegeta if they are of equal strength." Vegeta looked at the two people in front of him complacently, with a disdainful smile in his eyes. "Come on, baldy, frivolous boy. Vegeta, I told you I'm not bald." Krillin cursed, but his face showed a serious expression, and he looked at Yamcha beside him. Whoosh! The next moment, the two figures disappeared from Vegeta's sight. Vegeta's eyes were looking straight ahead, without any panic. Ho! A fist suddenly appeared behind Vegeta's head, and Vegeta leaned back slightly to avoid the punch. But almost at the same time, another fist came from the direction where Vegeta dodged. Vegeta raised his foot to block it. Krillin and Yamcha appeared and launched a series of attacks on him. The two men launched wave after wave of attacks, roaring and screaming continuously. "Old man, I'm leaving. Take care of yourself and don't push your body too hard." "Ah, goodbye, Vegeta." The blonde lanky beside her waved at Vegeta, her eyes full of reluctance. Among the 4 men in Kame's house, only Vegeta is not afraid of the blonde Lan Kai. Over time, Lan Kai also developed a liking for this powerful man. Unfortunately, she soon realized that Vegeta didn't seem to be interested in her at all. As the two watched, Vegeta flew into the air and soon disappeared from sight. Master Roshi looked at Vegeta's receding figure and felt emotional. He looked back at the 2 disciples still lying on the ground. Get up, Vegeta is gone. Don't be too sad, Vegeta is not from Earth, he is different from you. Krillin and Yamcha, who were covered in bruises, turned over from the ground and struggled to stand up after hearing this. Both of them had resentment on their faces. Because even though Vegeta suppressed his strength just now, the 2 of them together were still no match for him. Master Roshi couldn't help but feel a little worried that this huge gap in strength would make the 2 disciples completely lose their passion for martial arts. But fortunately, the will of these 2 disciples was stronger than Master Roshi thought. Master Mutant, can you give me the turtle shell that Vegeta uses when we train in the future? Teacher, I also want to increase the weight. Master Roshi was a little surprised. I won't accept this. Yamcha clenched his fists. We are training in the same way, so why is the gap between us and Vegeta getting bigger and bigger? Yes, Vegeta is about to start a new training, Master Mutant. We don't want to fall behind him forever. A trace of relief flashed across Master Kame's eyes, and he stroked his beard and nodded. Then you must be mentally prepared. The training in the future will be more difficult than it is now. Understand. Looking at the determined expressions of the 2 disciples, Master Kame thought that he had originally planned to pretend to be someone else and participate in the World Martial Arts Tournament in a few months, so as to prevent the 2 disciples from becoming proud and careless because of winning the competition easily. Now it seems that perhaps there is no need for me to participate anymore. Because as long as Vegeta is around, Krillin and Yamcha will never think of themselves as the best in the world. However, he could ask his other disciple, Gohan, to come over and give these 2 people some guidance. After leaving Kame Island, Vegeta planned to go to Galinta as his next destination. In the memories brought by the fusion of souls, after Sun Wukong from another world finished his training in the Turtle School, his next upgrade was on this Galen Tower. In the tall tower that pierces the sky and earth, there lives a plain-looking cat fairy. Although the opponent's strength is low, he has quite a lot of insights into martial arts. He can even accurately determine the strength of Goku and Cell based on his own observations. In his previous life, Vegeta had never been to Galen Tower, but he had been to the Temple of the Gods on top of Galen Tower, so he still remembered the location of Galen Tower. Okay. As Vegeta was flying, he suddenly noticed a familiar scene below. Is this near the Western capital? The sight of the object reminded Vegeta of Bulma from his own world. The next moment, his body flew uncontrollably towards the direction of the Western capital. Soon, he arrived at the gate of Bulma's house in the Western capital. Although it is a different world, everything here is exactly the same as the home in Vegeta's memory. Vegeta landed in the garden with familiarity, and a voice immediately sounded behind him. Hey, did you fly down from the sky? Vegeta turned his head and immediately saw Mrs. Brief's smiling face. Damn it! How come I met her right after I got here? If we were to say who in Bulma's family is the most helpless person for Vegeta, it would definitely be Mrs. Brief. Vegeta, who is not afraid even of Majin Buu, is most afraid of running into Mrs. Brief when he is alone at home. My name is Vegeta, and I'm here to look for Bulma. Vegeta. Mrs. Brief came closer with narrowed eyes and looked Vegeta up and down. Wow, so you are the Vegeta that Bulma always talks about. You are such a nice handsome guy. Do you want to go on a date with me? Vegeta's face instantly turned red with embarrassment. Sure enough, Mrs. Brief in both worlds looks like this. Please stop joking. Mrs. Brief smiled humorously and said casually, "Okay, I won't joke with you anymore. Bulma and her father are in the laboratory now. Vegeta, you should have given Bulma something, right? Since you brought that thing here, the father and daughter have been busy every day." Knowing where Bulma was, Vegeta immediately said, "Thank you, I'll go find her myself." After saying that, he fled the scene in panic. Mr. Vegeta, our house is very big. You watching Vegeta walking towards the laboratory with familiarity, Mrs. Brief covered her mouth in surprise. "Oh my, why does this Mr. Vegeta seem to be very familiar with our family?" Avoiding Mrs. Brief, who was giving him a headache, Vegeta made his way to the laboratory. Sure enough, Dr. Brief and Bulma were inside. Dr. Brief always has the same simple researcher look, wearing a white coat and smoking a cigarette, with a casual and gentle expression. Bulma was wearing a safety helmet and working with a welding gun next to a huge spaceship. When Vegeta came in, both of them turned their heads at the same time. "Huh? Who are you?" Dr. Brief asked curiously. Bulma stopped and saw Vegeta at the door. She ran over with a smile. "Vegeta, aren't you training with Master Kame? Why are you here?" Bulma paused, then suddenly smiled evilly. "Did you miss me? Did you come all the way to see me? How is this possible? I'm not missing you." Vegeta hastily defended himself. "I just came to see how the spaceship I gave you is doing." When Bulma heard this, she immediately covered her mouth and laughed evilly. "I haven't seen you for a few months, but you're still as stubborn as ever. By the way, why are you still so short? Shut up, you vulgar woman. I'll be taller soon." Chapter 29, Galinta. Fortunately, in addition to Bulma, there was a third person at the scene, Dr. Brief. Only after his interruption did Bulma stop teasing Vegeta, and the three of them sat down to reminisce about the past. Vegeta told Bulma that he had finished his training with Master Roshi and would go somewhere else to continue his training. During this time, Mrs. Brief also served afternoon tea. These things all had flavors that Vegeta was extremely familiar with, so he started eating them without hesitation. While Vegeta was wolfing down the food, Dr. Brief learned about it from his daughter. It turns out that this little guy is the owner of the spaceship that Bulma picked up. So, he's from outer space. Dr. Brief was so surprised that the cigarette dropped from his mouth. He never thought that he would actually see a living alien. It turns out that what the eldest daughter Tais said was true. In addition to the Earth, there are really humans on other planets in this universe. "Bulma, is my spaceship repaired?" After eating half full, Vegeta got down to business. "Well, it's been repaired a long time ago," Bulma said. "My father and I have studied that spaceship thoroughly 2 months ago. Now we are studying ways to increase the speed of the spaceship. If the modification goes well, the speed of your spaceship can be increased several times than before." Vegeta had no doubt about what Bulma said. After all, in another world, their family once successfully transformed Sun Wukong's spherical spaceship, making its speed even faster than before. Dr. Brief interrupted, "Mr. Vegeta, I have to thank you for this spaceship you provided. We have successfully developed an anti-gravity system, which will soon be used on the flying car of our Universal Capsule Company. I wonder what your bank account number is? Logically, we should give you an authorization fee." Vegeta replied, "It's useless for me to ask for money. If possible, you can just install a gravity device on the spaceship for me." Vegeta talked about the gravity training room that Goku had installed on the spaceship in his memory. Dr. Brief was dumbfounded again. "Mr. Vegeta, let me confirm again. Do you really want to build a training room with 100 times the gravity in the spacecraft? You have to know that under such gravity, the body weight of a 60-kilogram person will increase to 6,000 kilograms. Earthlings will definitely not be able to withstand such gravity." "I'm a Saiyan, not an Earthling," Seeing Vegeta's insistence, Dr. Brief said, "Okay, I can help you transform it, but you have to be careful when you use it next time." "Vegeta, are you planning to leave the Earth?" Bulma blinked. "Not yet. I still need to practice on Earth for a while. But when I'm done, I might leave here and start a new practice in the universe." Vegeta's current plan is naturally to complete all the training that Son Goku has experienced on Earth. But after finishing his training here, his next stop in his plan would be the planet Yadrat, the place where Sun Wukong once practiced and mastered instant teleportation. For Vegeta, if he wants to defeat Son Goku, instant teleportation is one of the tricks he must master. Bulma stood up with her hands behind her back and walked a few steps, as if she was thinking about something. She asked, "Where are you going to practice next?" Vegeta said, "A place called Galinta, and then the Temple of the Gods on Galinta." Bulma's eyes widened. "Temple of the Gods? Huh? Are there really gods in this world? He's just a guy who has mastered some magical powers. With my current strength, I can easily kill him," Vegeta said disdainfully. Bulma showed a malicious smile on her face again, and came over and said, "Hey, Vegeta, let's go to Galinta together." Vegeta showed a puzzled expression. "I went there to practice. Why are you going there?" "Let's go on a trip. There's the rarely visited secret place of Galinta, and the Temple of the Gods where the gods live. Of course I have to go and see such interesting places." "Annoying woman, stop messing around," Vegeta said. How could he not see that Bulma wanted to go to Galinta in order to travel with him again? But Vegeta kept reminding himself in his heart that he was not from this world. The Bulma in front of him was not the Bulma with violet hair. Bulma puffed up her cheeks and said, "I'm not kidding. Vegeta, I've been repairing your spaceship for several months. If you don't take me with you, I'll tear it apart." Vegeta had no choice but to look at Dr. Brief beside him. "Doctor, look at her." "Doctor," Brief said with a smile, "Mr. Vegeta, our Bulma always makes her own decisions on what she wants to do." Vegeta was ashamed, and he just remembered that when Bulma decided to be with him, their family had the same attitude. Knowing that he couldn't convince anyone, Vegeta had no choice but to sit back at the table and vent his anger with the leftovers on the table. That night, he used the wind and cloud sweep again to take revenge on Bulma. "Doctor." Brief's family all held up their knives and forks, staring blankly at Vegeta, who was cleaning the food on the table like a vacuum cleaner. "Mrs. Brief told the servants to continue serving the food while laughing. "Mr. Vegeta really looks like an alien. Earthlings can't eat that much." Bulma nodded. "Saiyans are supposed to be a nation of foodies, right?" "It's the fighting nation," Vegeta interjected. "Doctor," Brief said with emotion. "Bulma, don't worry, our family can afford it." "Dad, what are you talking about?" "Galinta, the holy land of martial arts on Earth. According to legend, this is the place where the martial arts of the Earth originated. The world-famous martial arts master, the Turtle Hermit, once studied under Galinta." In Vegeta's memory, Goku's strength began to increase rapidly, also starting from Galinta. And today, Galinta is welcoming two new guests. Wow! Amid two loud noises, a figure and a flying vehicle arrived under the Galen Tower. Bulma, sitting in the aircraft, was shocked as she looked at the tall tower rising from the ground into the sky and then disappearing into the layers of clouds. "Vegeta, this is Galinta? Oh my god, how was it built?" Maybe some kind of magic was used. Vegeta was also a little surprised. A miraculous building like the Galinta is rare even in the universe. In the past, Vegeta's eyes were always on Son Goku's back, and he paid little attention to this holy land on Earth. Looking back now, it seems a little strange. Why is such a place that can be called a miracle actually on a border planet like the Earth? Chapter 30, Kakarot Can Do It, So Can I. After a moment, Vegeta landed on the ground instead of flying directly towards the tower. Bulma's aircraft followed behind and also landed on the ground. Vegeta, didn't you say that the cat sage was on the tower? Why are we on the ground? I want to climb up the Galinta climb. Bulma looked up at the sky, only to find that she couldn't even see the top of Galen Tower. How high do you have to climb from the ground to the top of the Galinta? Why are you doing this? Can't Galinta fly up? No, you can fly up, but I have to climb up with my own hands. Vegeta clenched his fists. Since Sun Wukong had climbed the Galen Tower before, he naturally wanted to climb it once himself. At this moment, Vegeta suddenly felt a heaviness on his back. When he looked back, Bulma had already jumped onto his back. What are you doing, woman? Aren't you going to climb up? Then just carry me up. I can't fly. Bulma smiled mischievously. Tusk, hold on tight then. After saying that, Vegeta jumped on the spot and leaped directly onto Galinta. He held tightly onto the protruding bamboo-like things on the tower with both hands, and then he kept alternating his hands and climbed up at an extremely fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, Bulma found herself 200 or 300 meters above the ground. The woods that were just beside me have now turned into small green dots. This height almost scared Bulma so much that she even loosened her hands. Hold on tight. Vegeta suddenly grabbed her, his tone full of contempt. Vegeta, you have to move faster. I can't hold on much longer. Bulma's voice sounded like she was about to cry. Troublesome woman. Vegeta cursed, but quickened his pace with his hands, staring intently at the endless climb above. At the same time, at the top of a high tower that reaches the sky, the cat immortal stood on the edge of the Jilin Palace, looking down and sighed. I didn't expect that Vegeta would come to my place. Could it be that the guy called Son Goku has also climbed the Galen Tower? The cat hermit scratched his whiskers and muttered to himself, but with Vegeta's strength, there's nothing I can teach you, right? As a holy place for martial arts, the training content in Galen Tower is actually as simple as only one item, which is to challenge the super holy water. But the cat sage felt that with Vegeta's strength, there was no need for him to challenge the super holy water at all. Could it be he wants to try that? At this moment, the cat hermit suddenly felt that Vegeta's breath was approaching quickly, and he was not far away from him. It looked down and saw Vegeta. Oh my goodness, this monster is actually going to arrive so soon? It's not even an hour yet. Beads of sweat suddenly appeared on the forehead of the cat immortal. He paced back and forth, stroking his beard, feeling very uneasy. If that is really Vegeta's purpose, should I give it to him or not? Coming. The cat fairy suddenly shuddered. The next moment, Vegeta's figure appeared on Galinta. Then, Bulma, who looked terrified, fell off his back. Oh my god. I'm so scared. Vegeta, you're so fast. Sometimes you have to go fast and sometimes you have to go slow. You are such a troublesome woman. Bulma wanted to argue a few more times, but her eyes fell on the cat sage who was standing there in a daze. Cat immortal. Bulma immediately rushed to the cat hermit and looked carefully at the big white cat whose eyes were always squinting. It's amazing that there are cat immortals in this world. Since there are aliens, why is it so strange that there are immortals? The cat fairy dodged Bulma's outstretched hand, looked at Vegeta and said, Vegeta, what are you doing here? When Vegeta saw that the other party recognized him, he knew that when he was explaining everything to Master Roshi, the cat master was indeed eavesdropping. He then got straight to the point. Fat cat, you should already know my purpose. The cat hermit shook his head. I know, but Vegeta, your strength is far beyond mine. I really have nothing to teach you. Ugh, Bulma blinked. Could it be that Vegeta's strength is already stronger than that of a sage? Vegeta stared at the cat hermit and recalled in his mind what happened to Sun Wukong here. Indeed, it seemed that Kakarot's training on the Galen Tower was just about climbing the tower and snatching the super holy water. I have already climbed the Galen Tower, and the super holy water is actually just ordinary water. With my current strength, it is easy to take it away from the cat immortal. Then there was only one thing left on the Galinta. Where's the super divine water? Give it to me. The cat fairy showed an expected expression. It seems that you really want to drink that stuff. But Vegeta, I want to remind you that although the super divine water can tap into your potential, it is also highly poisonous. Be careful not to be poisoned to death after drinking it. If Kakarot can survive, then so can I. Take it out. Then come with me. The cat fairy knew that he could not persuade him, so he had to lead the way. Vegeta, what is this super divine water you are talking about? Bulma looked curious, and seeing that Vegeta was unwilling to explain, she had to ask the cat hermit for help. The cat hermit led the way and told Bulma the horror of the super divine water. Poisonous water? Isn't this too dangerous? Cat immortal, how many people have survived drinking it before? Well, 14 of the Earth's most powerful people have tried before, but no one survived, not even one? Bulma immediately looked at Vegeta. Did you hear that, Vegeta? You're still drinking something so dangerous. Vegeta's face was indifferent. It's not that no one survived. At least I know one. Ugh. Bulma was stunned. Didn't the cat hermit say that no one survived? Why did Vegeta say that there was? Cat immortal, who is he talking about? The cat fairy remained silent. It naturally knew that Vegeta might be talking about the person named Son Goku in another world, but the problem was that it didn't know that person. Fortunately, by this time, they had arrived at a small room. The cat immortal took out a bottle of super divine water from the room, poured a small cup, and handed it over. Vegeta smelled it and found that there was no special smell. It looked like ordinary water. Is this really the super divine water? The real deal? Vegeta was confirming with the cat hermit when Bulma next to him suddenly stretched out her finger and dipped a little, as if she wanted to taste it. Fool! The cat hermit immediately picked up his cane and hit Bulma hard. Ouch! Why did you hit me? Do you want to die? Just one small bite can make you die 10 times. Ah, that's so dangerous. Bulma's face turned pale instantly. Vegeta, why don't you just forget it? Vegeta did not hesitate at this moment and drank up the super divine water in one breath. But the next second, Vegeta's face was instantly distorted, as if all his internal organs were dislocated, and he fell to the ground twitching in pain. Chapter 31, Robbery of Galinta. Vegeta. Bulma immediately panicked when she saw Vegeta fall to the ground in pain. Since she met Vegeta, she had never seen such pain on his face. This strong-willed dwarf still looked stubborn even when his weakness was caught. Who would have thought that he would be in so much pain now? It can make Vegeta unable to control his expression. How toxic is this super divine water? At this time, Vegeta's face was already soaked with beads of sweat. His breathing was extremely rapid, as if he was trying to drain all the air from his lungs. Pain. It hurts. Vegeta didn't expect that the super divine water would be so toxic. Even though he was a Saiyan and had royal blood, he couldn't hold on any longer. For a moment, Vegeta was in so much pain that he almost wanted to give up everything. But soon, Kakarot's hideous smile appeared before his eyes. Kakarot, if you can survive the poison, I, Vegeta, can too. Bah! As time passed, Vegeta relied on his own will to fight against the poison carried by the super divine water. During this period, Bulma tried to take Vegeta to the hospital several times, but he stubbornly pushed her away. Hold on. I must hold on. I don't know how much time had passed, but when Vegeta opened his eyes again, the sky outside was still dark. But in fact, almost a day had passed since he drank the super divine water. Vegeta. On the side, Bulma, who looked tired, saw Vegeta suddenly stop wailing and immediately stepped forward to confirm. But Vegeta had already stood up, looking at him with confusion on his face. For some reason, he had a strange feeling, as if he had become different now. Although my whole body is full of strength, my mood is exceptionally calm. Vegeta, are you okay? Bulma asked with concern. I'm fine. Vegeta looked at the cat sage beside him. My potential has been improved. You can try. The cat immortal also had cold sweat on his forehead. This was the first time he saw someone drink the super divine water and remain immortal. Then let's give it a try. Vegeta immediately mobilized the energy in his body. Suddenly, a powerful aura turned into a strong wind and spread in all directions. This Vegeta was also shocked. His aura was actually twice as strong as before. Once upon a time, Vegeta's strength plummeted due to the punishment of the power of time, and he almost fell back to his combat power when he was just born. But now, although he has not been tested between life and death, his strength has returned to the level when he first came to Earth. That is a combat power of 18,000. You know, when Vegeta came to Earth in his last life, he was already 30 years old. And now he is not even 18 yet, still in the early childhood of a Saiyan. Is this because of the power of the super divine water, or is it because of the Saiyan blood in his body taking effect? That's enough, Vegeta, please stop now. Hearing the cat master's exclamation, Vegeta realized that Bulma and the cat master were blown against the wall by his breath. The cat fairy was lying on Bulma's body like a cushion, and the fat on her face was squeezed and deformed. He quickly restrained his breath. The cat immortal wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said, "Okay, you can leave now. I have helped you as much as I can. Next, I think you will go to the Temple of the Gods, right?" "Yes." Vegeta nodded, then held out his hand to the cat hermit. "Give me that thing." "Ah? What did you say?" The cat immortal didn't react. "Ling-ling, don't we need your permission to go to the Temple of the Gods?" "You idiot. Since you know you need the bell, you should also know that with your current strength, you can fly directly to the Temple of the Gods without that thing and the Rui stick, right?" The cat immortal licked his paw. Vegeta was stunned for a moment and found that it seemed to be true. I was too focused on the memory of the fusion soul just now. Thinking of this, he simply took off the Rui stick that he had been carrying with him. The reason why I carried the Rui stick with me was because I wanted to use its power to go to the Temple of the Gods. Since I can already fly up directly, I don't need this stick anymore. Fat cat, I'll make a deal with you using this stick. Hand over your senzu beans. What? The cat fairy's face was full of speechlessness. The Rui rod was originally taken from Galinta, but Vegeta actually wanted to use it to trade for senzu beans. What is the difference between this and Ming King? But facing the powerful Vegeta, the cat sage did not dare to say no. It could only sigh and dig out a pottery jar from a pile of debris. There were 2 red words magic beans pasted on it. When you opened it, you saw that it was full of green, dry and flat beans. It is the most magical thing in the Dragon Ball world besides the Dragon Balls, the senzu beans with super healing powers. Vegeta's breathing became a little rapid. There are at least 10,000 senzu beans in this full jar. I never thought there would be so many senzu beans in this world. Is it because the world is different, or is it a matter of time? Otherwise, why in his original world he often couldn't even get 20 senzu beans together? Could it be that Kakarot ate all of it? Now they are all mine. Vegeta pushed the cat hermit away and took the whole jar of senzu beans into his arms. Wait, these are all the senzu beans we have. Please at least leave me some for seeds. After hearing this, Vegeta grabbed a handful of about 50 pills from the jar and threw them on the ground. These are enough for seeds. The cat fairy stared at the 50 pitiful magic beans on the ground and was so angry that he wanted to hit someone. Today is really its unlucky day, as it actually encountered a robber like Vegeta. At this moment, the cat hermit suddenly saw Bulma sneaking out of the room where the super divine water was stored, holding a small bottle in her hand. The cat fairy immediately guessed what she was doing. You woman, did you steal my super divine water? Ah, were you discovered? Bulma stuck out her tongue. Don't be angry, cat master. I just took a little bit and planned to go back and study what it was. The fur on the cat fairy's body exploded and he was almost going crazy with rage. What do this pair of bastards think of the sacred Galinta? Go, you two thieves. Get out of here now. Bulma put the senzu beans into the universal capsule for Vegeta, then jumped on his back and waved to the cat sage. Bye, cat fairy, see you later. As soon as he finished speaking, Vegeta took off into the air and flew towards the Temple of Heaven. See you later. You'd better not come. The cat immortal rushed to the side and shouted at the two people's backs. Chapter 32's Cells. Vegeta, haven't you arrived yet? It's almost there. Hold on tight. There is actually a long distance from Galinta to the temple, and even with Vegeta's speed, it is impossible to reach it instantly. During this time, the air became thinner and thinner. Vegeta was still fine, but Bulma was already having trouble breathing and was almost exhausted. Fortunately, Vegeta suddenly reached out and grabbed her tightly, preventing Bulma from falling. Feeling Vegeta's body temperature, Bulma felt strange. Whether it was Galinta or the Temple of Heaven, these were places Bulma had never seen in books. Obviously, as an Earthling, she didn't know anything about these places. So how does Vegeta, an alien, know these places? Vegeta Bulma was about to speak when she saw the scenery change. A hemispherical building floating high in the sky, like a giant bowl, appeared in sight. Oh my god, there really is such a place on Earth. Who built this? God, Vegeta replied. Although it has merged with a soul from another world, the origin of the Temple of Heaven does not exist in the memory of this soul from another world. Temple of the gods in the past, I was only concerned with improving my strength and catching up with Kakarot, but I seemed to have ignored the existence of this place just as Vegeta was full of thoughts. The two of them had already flown to the edge of the temple. To Vegeta's surprise, two figures were already standing at the edge of the temple, seemingly waiting for him. One of the two men was a dark and fat man with a white cloth wrapped around his head and dull eyes. The other one was wearing a white robe, and his appearance and body were completely different from the humans, orcs, and monsters on Earth. But his appearance was somewhat similar to that of Kakarot Roman II, who had died at the hands of Vegeta. We finally meet, Vegeta. God Piccolo looked at the young man floating in front of him and said slowly, Yes, this is the first time we meet, both before and now. Vegeta landed on the ground and said lightly, In his previous life, when Vegeta first ascended the temple, the god Piccolo had already merged with Piccolo, so this was the first time he saw the appearance of the Earth God with his own eyes. As expected, they are similar to the Nankians, except that their strength is far inferior. According to memory, is it because this Nankian once split his energy in two? What an idiot. He is obviously stronger than a Super Saiyan, but he is willing to weaken himself to this extent for the so-called position of a god. Hello, I am Mr. Bobo, a servant of God. Mr. Bobo next to him raised his hand and greeted him. Vegeta completely ignored him. Just a servant. However, Bulma, who was hiding behind Vegeta, saw that Mr. Popo seemed friendlier than God, and responded subconsciously. Yo, Bulma, go visit with that fat black guy. I have something to say to this god. Hearing Vegeta's words, God Piccolo also nodded. Mr. Popo, please show the guests around. Okay, Miss Bulma, this way please. Mr. Bobo greeted. Then I'll go take a look. After Bulma followed Mr. Popo away, God Piccolo spoke. That Miss Bulma seems to be an important person to you? You seem to have never let her know your true identity. This matter has nothing to do with you. God of the Earth. You should know my intentions. I know. I have been observing you since you came to Earth. so I know exactly why you are here. You can indeed learn something from me. It's just that the god Piccolo paused and said, I hope you can agree to one condition of mine. Are you brave enough to negotiate with me? Vegeta's expression was slightly disdainful. If it wasn't for the purpose of catching up with Kakarot, he didn't think he could learn anything from a Ninkian whose combat power was less than 300. What's more, the other party dares to make conditions to himself. Feeling Vegeta's pressure, God Piccolo quickly explained, Vegeta, my conditions are actually very simple. I just hope that you can eliminate a demon for the Earth in the near future. Vegeta interrupted, Lord Piccolo. Sure, I agree. God Piccolo smiled awkwardly. The other party is indeed from a parallel world and even knows about this. In that case, you should stay here. Mr. Bobo and I will guide you in your training. Later, Popo, who received telepathy from the god, brought Bulma back. Bulma, I will be training here for a long time. The environment here is too much of a burden for you. You should go back. Alas, we are going to separate again. Bulma spread her hands helplessly, even though she had only been hanging out with Mr. Popo for a short while. Her face was already a bit more purplish than usual. The environment of the Temple of the Gods is indeed not suitable for an ordinary person like her to stay for a long time. Not to mention that there is actually nothing here except buildings, and because it is far up in the sky, it is eerily quiet except for the sound of the wind. Just imagining what it would be like to live here made Bulma feel creepy. Thinking of this, Bulma readily agreed to say goodbye. She threw out a universal capsule and conjured up a flying machine on the ground of the temple. Just as she was about to go up, Bulma suddenly thought of something. Oh, Vegeta, there's something I've forgotten to ask you. Your recovered memories. Vegeta's face turned red, and he immediately guessed what the other party wanted to ask. He thought quickly and interrupted, Bulma, I have something to ask of you. Take my blood and do some research. Hey, your blood? Why would I want to study your blood? Sure enough, Bulma was immediately attracted by Vegeta's words. I want you to study a certain cell in my blood. We Saiyans have a special cell called S cell in our bodies. When the content of this cell in the body increases to a certain level, Saiyans can use their anger to perform a special transformation called Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan? What's that? Bulma blinked. It's the super warrior that appears only once every 1,000 years in Saiyan legend. Vegeta explained halfway, but found that Bulma didn't seem to understand, so he added, anyway, it's a transformation that makes Saiyans stronger. When we become Super Saiyans, our hair will turn blonde and our strength will increase 50 times. 50 times. So impressive. Seeing the interested look on Bulma's face, Vegeta seemed to be encouraged and continued to explain. In short, S cells are the key to becoming a Super Saiyan. But in fact, we haven't seen a Super Saiyan among the Saiyans for a long time because without external help, this cell will only increase when the Saiyan's life is stable. So I want you to study and see if there is any way to quickly increase the level of S cells. Okay, I'll study it then. Bulma agreed readily. In fact, Bulma has not done any research in the field of biology. But after listening to Vegeta's description, she felt that the Saiyan cells seemed very interesting. How can a cell change due to emotions? It sounds incredible. So, after hastily drawing a tube of blood from Vegeta, Bulma left excitedly. Goodbye then, Vegeta. Come on, I hope you'll be taller next time we meet. Vegeta had a cold face and raised his index and middle fingers to Bulma. This is the Saiyan gesture for goodbye. Bye-bye. The aircraft flew higher, and soon made a turn and flew straight into the distance. It wasn't until the Temple of Heaven was out of sight that Bulma suddenly remembered, oops, I forgot to ask Vegeta about his memory again. Chapter 33 Mr. Bobo and Ash-039's training. After watching Bulma leave, God Piccolo turned his head and looked at Vegeta and said, Vegeta, you will practice with Mr. Popo from now on. With him? Vegeta frowned. Isn't he training with you? Of course not. Mr. Popovich is actually very good. He knows everything I know and even things I don't know. So he is more suitable to guide you than me. God is right. Don't underestimate Mr. Bobo. Mr. Popo put his hands on his hips, looking a little unhappy about what Vegeta said. Okay, then Vegeta had no choice but to accept it. But when he thought about it carefully, it seemed that Sun Wukong actually received guidance from Mr. Bobo. Thinking of this, Vegeta no longer had any objections. By the way, before we start the training, let me give you a set of training clothes. When the god Piccolo stretched out his hand, Vegeta immediately felt his body sink. He looked down and found that his clothes had turned into a martial arts uniform similar to that of the god without him knowing. Although this martial arts uniform looked ordinary, it seemed to carry magical power and became extremely heavy, making it difficult for Vegeta to breathe. What kind of magic is this? It feels like I've entered a gravity training room. God Piccolo explained, I made this clothing based on the turtle shell you carried when you were training with Master Kame, but this clothing should weigh 500 kilograms. What a convenient magic. After walking a few steps, Vegeta felt that this clothes was much better than Master Roshi's tortoise shell. The only thing that dissatisfied him was the appearance of the clothes. From the Saiyan aesthetic point of view, it is too ugly. God, can't you change the look of this dress? Are you dissatisfied? I think this dress looks great. What do you think, Mr. Bobo? God Piccolo looked at Mr. Bobo, who was standing beside him, and the latter nodded and said, It is very beautiful. How can it be good-looking? Change it into the combat suit I wore when I arrived on Earth. Vegeta yelled. You have a really unique aesthetic, Vegeta. God Piccolo finally reluctantly changed Vegeta's training clothes. The Saiyan battle suit is actually the uniform of Frieza's army, but after wearing it for so many years in his previous life, Vegeta has become accustomed to its shape. Compared to Master Roshi's uniform and the Nankian's clothes, he likes this style more. After changing clothes, Vegeta and Mr. Popo returned to the square outside the temple and officially began their training. Black Fatty, how are you going to guide me? Vegeta asked with a look of disdain, crossing his arms across his chest. Vegeta, you can attack me now. Mr. Popo replied. Please go all out and don't hold back. I will guide you as you attack. Vegeta raised the corner of his mouth when he heard this. You said it, be careful or I'll beat you to death. Mr. Bobo won't die. Not always. With a whoosh, Vegeta disappeared from the spot. The next moment he appeared behind Mr. Bobo. At this time, Mr. Bobo seemed to be completely unaware, with flaws all over his body. It's over. Vegeta punched Mr. Popo in the back of the head. But I didn't expect Mr. Bobo to suddenly raise his fist in the air. His fist just hovered there, and then Vegeta seemed to put his head close to it and got punched hard. The punch hit Vegeta's nose. Although it was not heavy, it shocked Vegeta so much that he quickly took a few steps back. What happened just now? Vegeta's face turned serious, completely unable to comprehend what had just happened. In terms of combat power, his current combat power is at least 18,000. Although Mr. Bobo in front of him did not have a detector, his combat effectiveness could not be accurately measured. But based on his perception of aura, Vegeta judged that his strength should be similar to that of Raditz when he grew up in his previous life. That is about 1,000. But why was he the first to get injured with only a combat power of 1,000? I must have been careless. The god's clothes slowed me down. This time, Vegeta no longer held back and unleashed his full 18,000 combat power. The energy in the body turns into a buzzing aura that envelops the whole body. Suddenly, Vegeta attacked again. His body flew out like lightning and kicked Mr. Popo. Your attack is too direct. Just as Vegeta was about to hit Mr. Popo, the latter also moved. He simply took a step sideways to avoid Vegeta's attack, then raised his fist and lightly punched Vegeta's flying lower body. Hi tilde. Vegeta's face suddenly twisted into a state of distortion. Vegeta, have you forgotten everything you learned from Son Gohan and Master Roshi? A truly strong person doesn't just rely on great strength. Mr. Popo's words suddenly woke Vegeta up, and he thought about everything he had learned since coming to Earth. After just a few seconds, Vegeta, who had been breathing heavily, calmed down. The aura surrounding his entire body also disappeared. At this moment, Vegeta's heart has calmed down coming. Suddenly, Vegeta disappeared from where he was and appeared right in front of Mr. Popo. Although the raised toes were blocked in time by Mr. Bobo, they almost kicked his nose. Very good. But it's still not enough. Mr. Popo suddenly grabbed with one hand, and Vegeta's held foot was immediately held in his palm. Immediately afterwards, a huge force threw Vegeta away. Come again. Vegeta quickly jumped up on the spot and attacked again. You have the state of mind, but your attacks still lack variety. Mr. Popo dodged it easily, then used Vegeta's own strength to throw him out. After several times, Vegeta found that he couldn't even punch Mr. Popo, let alone defeat him. Why? Why is this happening? Because your fighting skills are still primitive, Vegeta. You should have learned from Master Roshi how to use your skills to their full potential, right? But it's obvious that you only understand the principles, but can't fully apply them yet. Let's start with this as our focus from now on. Mr. Popo pointed out the crux of Vegeta's problem. This shocked Vegeta greatly. He didn't expect that the fat black man in front of him, whose combat power was only 1,000, was actually much stronger than he imagined. By the way, it seems that this guy also guided Trunks and Son Goten, who transformed into Super Saiyans in another time and space. Mr. Popo, who are you? Vegeta asked with a serious expression. Mr. Bobo is the servant of God. Mr. Bobo still had the same dull expression as before. But now Vegeta no longer dares to underestimate him. So next, under Popo's guidance, Vegeta began his training journey in the Temple of Heaven. Chapter 34. The Great Demon King Piccolo appears early. Compared to the training with Son Gohan and Master Roshi, Mr. Popo's guidance was an unprecedented experience for Vegeta. In addition to daily combat training, Mr. Popo also taught Vegeta many other things. On this day, in the spacious square of the Temple of Heaven, Vegeta sat quietly on a stone slab. His eyes were closed, his expression indifferent, and under him was a square stone slab. Mr. Bobo stood quietly by and gave instructions. Let's get started. Vegeta closed his eyes quietly, restrained his breath to the minimum, and then tried to transmit the breath that had been restrained to the minimum to the stone slab. His goal was to make the stone slab beneath him float while restraining his breath. But this seemed very difficult, and Vegeta's face gradually began to show difficulty, because no matter how he circulated his breath, he could not make the stone slab below float even 1 centimeter high. Gradually, Vegeta's expression began to become ferocious, and cold sweat continued to appear on his forehead. Snapped. Mr. Popo suddenly slapped him. Vegeta, your mind is in turmoil. Remember what I said, calm your mind. The use of breath does not require strength. As long as your mood can be as calm as the sky, your breath will obey you. Although Mr. Popo said it easily, it was too difficult for Vegeta. Back then, Vegeta mastered the sensing and restraining of breath after just one fight on Earth. At that time, he was very complacent about it and felt that he was indeed a genius among the Saiyans. But now Vegeta realized that what he had mastered at the beginning was actually just the crudest and lowest level of aura use. The real use of breath is far from simple. Ah, I can't do this. After persisting for a while, Vegeta opened his eyes dejectedly, sat on the ground, and said helplessly, "That's all for today. Next, I will teach you how to meditate. This is different from the meditation you learned before. It is a way of practicing aura that the gods taught me. Your previous training method focused on physical training, but the meditation of God Piccolo focuses on the training of Kai. Perhaps after learning this, you will be able to do what you just did." "I understand." Vegeta nodded. Now he no longer dared to underestimate the guy in front of him whose combat power was only over 1,000. "Next, close your eyes and feel the breath I release." Vegeta closed his eyes as Mr. Popo said, and immediately felt a force gathering at Mr. Popo's fingertips. Under Mr. Bobo's control, this energy sometimes turns into flying birds and sometimes turns into waterfalls. Do you feel it? What you need to do next is to make your aura the same as mine. This requires you to use your mind to control your aura. Vegeta listened carefully, taking every word Popo said into his mind. In this way, time passed little by little, and before he knew it, Vegeta had spent half a year training in the temple. On this day, Vegeta was still practicing with Mr. Popo. Beside them, the god Piccolo stood at the edge of the temple, gazing down into the netherworld. Vegeta was no longer surprised by this. He learned from Mr. Bobo that the god Piccolo was observing the underworld. This celestial temple has a special power. As long as you obtain the status of a god, you can observe every corner of the earth from the temple. To Vegeta, this was just a boring way to kill time. However, Vegeta, who was fully engaged in training, did not notice that something seemed to be wrong with God Piccolo today. His eyes were extremely solemn and his breathing became more and more rapid, as if he had seen something terrifying. "Damn you, Pilaf! What on earth have you done?" Following the gaze of the god Piccolo, the scene shifted to somewhere in the underworld. This is a huge space. The security here is tight, with soldiers armed with live ammunition and various armored vehicles everywhere. From time to time, patrolling combat aircraft can be seen above the base. In addition, in every corner of the base, on every person, and even on various weapons, you can see a red pattern that looks like a bow tie, with the letter R written on each side. This symbol is the symbol of the Red Ribbon Legion, an organization that most ordinary people on Earth are afraid of. And this base is the headquarters of the Red Ribbon Army. But while the Red Ribbon soldiers outside were still on guard, a power transition was quietly taking place inside the headquarters. "Counselor Pilaf, how dare you betray me?" Inside the Red Ribbon Army headquarters, Commander-in-Chief Rhett lay dying on the ground, looking at Pilaf, his most trusted scientific advisor, in disbelief. There was a big hole in Rhett's chest at this moment, and blood kept pouring out of the hole. The culprit behind all this was a tall figure standing next to Pilaf in front of him. Pilaf said, "Marshal Wright, it's not that I betray you, but the Red Ribbon Army can only rule the world if it is controlled by Lord Piccolo. You guys." Rhett used up his last bit of strength to look around at the generals of the Red Ribbon Army. These Legion elites all lowered their heads at this moment, and no one stood up to fight for their commander. At this time, a black man came over with a pistol and pointed the gun at Rhett. Lieutenant Black, are you going to betray me too?" "Captain Rhett, Pilaf is right. Rather than being destroyed by the Great Demon Lord Piccolo, it is better to join his army. Therefore, you are the only one who can be sacrificed. For the sake of our many years of friendship, let me give you a quick death." Boom! With a gunshot, Rhett took his last breath. Immediately afterwards, a group of Red Ribbon Army generals, led by Adjutant Blake and their highly paid ace killer Tao Beibai, knelt down in front of that person. "Lord Piccolo, the Red Ribbon Army is yours from now on." Ah! Under the gazes of everyone, the old body of Lord Piccolo sat on the seat that originally belonged to Marshal Wright. Although the small chair was very disproportionate to the devil's huge body, no one dared to laugh out loud. Lord Piccolo's face was full of wrinkles and his voice was very weak, but no one dared to underestimate this legendary devil who almost destroyed humanity, because just one of the demon subordinates under the great demon Lord Piccolo, who was covered in green and had a pair of wings, easily defeated the world's #1 killer Tao Peibai. If Tao Peibai had not been quick to beg for mercy immediately, he might have died at the hands of this demon. If a mere Demon King's subordinate is so powerful, then the strength of the Great Demon King Piccolo is simply unimaginable. Pilaf, now the Red Ribbon Army is mine, so the next target is the Dragon Ball, right? Yes, Your Majesty the Great Demon King. Pilaf and his two subordinates, Ash and Xiao Wu, knelt on the ground and explained, as long as you gather all 7 Dragon Balls, you can restore your youth, Great Demon King. By then, your power should be able to defeat that Vegeta. Lord Piccolo nodded. Although he didn't think there was any human in this world who could defeat him. After all, according to Pilaf, the human named Vegeta had once destroyed Kakarot Roman too. Kakarot, the Great Devil Piccolo still remembers this name. That was a powerful existence who was called the Great Demon King earlier than him. When Kakarot was still alive, the Great Demon King Piccolo had to avoid his edge and did not dare to call himself the Demon King. It was not until Kakarot was destroyed by the previous generation of gods that Piccolo gradually called himself the successor of the Demon King Kakarot. Even if Kakarot Roman II does not have the terrifying strength of the first Kakarot, his strength should be comparable to that of his old body. In order to avoid repeating the same mistake, he decided to agree to Pilaf's request to control the Red Ribbon Army first and use their power to find the Dragon Balls to restore his youth. Vegeta, as long as I regain my youth, I can crush him to death with one hand. Chapter 35 Bulma and Ash 039's Kidnapping Plan. The god Piccolo was leaning on a cane, watching the developments in the underworld with a worried look on his face. He also didn't expect that Lord Piccolo, who should have had to wait at least a few more years before being discovered due to the weakening of the seal, was awakened by humans ahead of time. What's more, I didn't expect that Lord Piccolo would collude with the Red Ribbon Army. The gods exist to maintain the balance of the earth. Therefore, unless it is absolutely necessary, the gods cannot interfere in human affairs. Therefore, in the past, even though the god Piccolo knew that the Red Ribbon Army was an unforgivable evil and vicious group, he had always allowed it to develop. However, they didn't expect that in order to find the Dragon Balls, the Red Ribbon Army actually released Lord Piccolo and were eventually controlled by him. The story of Lord Piccolo's awakening began a few months ago. A few months ago, because of the discovery of the legend of Dragon Ball in ancient books, the Red Ribbon Army began to mobilize its troops to search for the whereabouts of Dragon Ball around the world. But because their Dragon Ball radar is still very backward, progress is slow. But at this time, the Pilaf trio unexpectedly came to the door. With the Dragon Ball radar in his hand, which was more advanced than the Red Ribbon Armies, Pilaf successfully became the technological advisor to Marshal Wright and helped the Red Ribbon Army find 6 of the 7 Dragon Balls. But this last one was not discovered for a long time because it was swallowed by an animal. Although they did not find the last Dragon Ball during the search, Pilaf and his crew accidentally found the rice cooker hidden in the deep sea, which sealed King Piccolo. Pilaf joined the Red Ribbon Army in order to use their power to defeat Vegeta, who had destroyed his dream. However, as Pilaf came into contact with the Red Ribbon Army, he realized that this ideal might not be achieved with their help. Not to mention that during a drunken conversation, Pilaf actually learned that the real purpose of Commander Ritter's search for the Dragon Ball was actually just to make himself taller. In disappointment, Pilaf opened the seal of Lord Piccolo, hoping to rely on his power to defeat Vegeta. So the way things turned out now is actually due to Vegeta's fault for not killing Pilaf and his gang. Looks like Vegeta has to step in here. At this time, the god Piccolo suddenly noticed that the situation in the human world had changed. In the Red Ribbon Army's headquarters, Piccolo looked at the 6 Dragon Balls he had collected and asked, "Pilaf, didn't you say that if we defeated the Red Ribbon Army, we would be able to collect all the Dragon Balls? Why is there one missing in the end? I'm sorry, Lord Demon. It's like this, my Dragon Ball radar can only find these 6 Dragon Balls at the moment. The signal of the 7th Dragon Ball may have been blocked by something, so the Red Ribbon Army has never found it. Pilaf knelt on the ground and hurriedly defended himself. Besides, if I hadn't found the 7th Dragon Ball, I wouldn't have discovered your whereabouts, Demon Lord. Then how long will it take to find the 7th Dragon Ball? Lord Piccolo snorted disdainfully. This one, just as Pilaf was rubbing his hands, his assistant Black, who had abandoned his former commander and joined Piccolo, suddenly said, Master Demon, perhaps we could find another scientist to help improve our radar. The scientist? Lord Piccolo shifted his gaze. That cold and evil look made Blake shiver. Yes, that's right. Adjutant Blake walked to the console and pressed a few buttons. 2 figures appeared on the big screen at the headquarters. Master Demon, this is Dr. Brief and his daughter Bulma. They are 2 of the smartest scientists in the world. Their Universal Capsule Company relies on the Universal Capsule invented by Dr. Brief and the anti-gravity system invented by his daughter Bulma. It is now the most profitable company in the world. So I think if we can use their power to improve the radar, we should be able to find the whereabouts of the 7th Dragon Ball. Bulma. Pilaf immediately recognized the girl on the screen and quickly objected, Master Demon. We can't go find that Bulma. This woman is Vegeta's girlfriend. If we touch her, I'm afraid it will alarm Vegeta. Piccolo laughed evilly. Isn't that better? As long as I can control this woman, even if Vegeta is really as powerful as you say, I don't have to be afraid of him. Then it's settled. Everyone from the Red Ribbon Army who is willing to capture this woman named Bulma for me. Master Demon, please let me come. A white man in a vest came out. I'm White, the commander of the White Team of the Red Ribbon Army. I am willing to serve the Demon Lord. Seeing that Lord Piccolo was determined to send people to capture Bulma, Pilaf became very anxious. Master Demon, we can't rely on them alone. Not to mention Vegeta. Bulma knows several powerful martial artists. Martial artist? Lord Demon King, then let me go too. A mere human martial artist is no match for us demons. Then I'll leave it to you, but don't be careless, Danbalin. Bringing that Bulma back is your first priority. Please rest assured, Great Demon King. Dunderin bent down and led General White out. God Piccolo withdrew his gaze, but he didn't expect that Bulma had also become the target of the Great Devil Piccolo. Although he actually didn't know the true meaning of Bulma to Vegeta, he could see that the woman meant a lot to Vegeta. So God Piccolo immediately turned around and walked over to interrupt Vegeta, who was still training. Mr. Bobo, please stop for a moment. Hearing the words of the god, Mr. Popo, who was practicing with Vegeta, immediately put down his hands. Vegeta, whose practice was interrupted, said impatiently, God, why do you want to interrupt our practice? Vegeta, you can fulfill your promise to me today. Lord Piccolo, it shouldn't be time yet, right? Vegeta frowned in confusion. In his memory, Lord Piccolo's awakening should be a few years later, and now the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament should have just ended. Where did Lord Piccolo come from? That's because you let Pilaf go. Pilaf? Who? Vegeta was confused and had no impression of this name at all. God Piccolo sighed and told Vegeta the reason why the Great Demon King Piccolo woke up early. What? He's just a nobody who only has a few words. Vegeta said with disdain. Old God, according to what you said, that Great Demon King Piccolo has not yet recovered his youth, right? Why should we worry about a guy who is not even in his prime? When that guy recovers his youth, I will take action. God Piccolo sighed, as if he had known that Vegeta would say that. So he continued, but Vegeta, Piccolo's men are now trying to capture Bulma. If you don't go down, Bulma will fall into their hands. Do you want to let that happen? What? Vegeta's face changed instantly and he rushed to the edge of the Temple of Heaven. Oh my god, where is Bulma now? When I looked just now, she should be in the western capital before the god Piccolo could finish his words. Vegeta had already flown out, forgetting to even ask the god to take off his weight-bearing suit. You're courting death if you dare to touch Bulma. Chapter 36. Give me back my Bulma. Vegeta rushed all the way, causing strong winds wherever he passed. After flying for just a while, Vegeta felt strange. Why did his flying speed seem to be much slower than before after practicing for so long? When I lowered my head, I realized that I was still wearing the weight-bearing suit of God Piccolo. The weight suit he is wearing now weighs 800 kilograms. No wonder Vegeta felt that he was flying too slowly. Vegeta quickly stopped and took off the weight-bearing suit that looked like a combat suit. He immediately felt a lot lighter. When flying again this time, Vegeta suddenly felt that his speed had increased by more than a little bit compared to the past. Although his combat capability had not improved much, his flying speed was actually twice as fast as before. The reason is that Vegeta's ability to use his anger at this moment is far superior to that of the past. Is this the effect of practice? Vegeta was overjoyed and immediately exerted all his strength, turning himself into a ray of light and rushing towards the direction of the western capital. Just a moment later, the western capital appeared before their eyes. However, when Vegeta rushed into Bulma's house, he saw a scene as if a great battle had just taken place. Bulma's mansion is full of holes and collapsed walls, and the garden that was once Dr. Brief's favorite is now dotted with flames that have not yet been extinguished. Vegeta frowned, sensed several auras here, and immediately walked over. It turned out that it was Krillin and Yamcha who were both covered in wounds. Next to them was Master Roshi, who looked disheveled but not seriously injured, and Mrs. Brief, who was leading Oolong and Pool to apply medicine to Krillin and Yamcha. Everyone was stunned when they saw Vegeta suddenly barging in. Oh, are you a policeman? Mrs. Brief asked curiously. What are you talking about? I'm Vegeta. Where are Bulma and the others? Vegeta was speechless to Mrs. Brief. It had only been such a long time since they last met, and yet she had forgotten him. Did he yes Vegeta? What? Everyone's eyes widened when they heard Vegeta's words. What nonsense are you talking about? Who else could it be if not me? Vegeta just replied and then remembered that he seemed to be 18 years old. Then I should be in adolescence now, right? Once a Saiyan enters adolescence, his body will grow rapidly, transforming from a child to an adult overnight. Vegeta himself was busy training during this period and didn't notice it. No wonder Master Roshi and the others couldn't recognize it. It's really Vegeta. After hearing Vegeta's voice, the group of people finally believed their eyes. Vegeta, you've grown so tall so quickly? Krillin looked at Vegeta, who was a head taller than him, with some reluctance. It's clear that they were almost the same height before, and Wulong tried to hold back his laughter, pointing at Vegeta's head and said, Vegeta, what's wrong with your forehead? Shut up. This is a hairstyle for the strong. Vegeta cursed, then took a breath and said, by the way, where are Bulma and Dr. Brief? After hearing his words, the smiles immediately disappeared from everyone's faces. Master Kame said apologetically, I'm sorry Vegeta, Bulma and Dr. Brief were just taken away by the Red Ribbon Army. Damn it! Are we still a step too late? Vegeta cursed inwardly and prepared to give chase. Wait a minute, Vegeta. Master Roshi stopped him. This time, our opponent may not only be the Red Ribbon Army, but Lord Piccolo may also be involved. The reason why Master Roshi and Krillin are here today is because the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament just ended. Unlike the original work, Master Roshi did not choose to wear makeup to participate in the competition this time. because he knew that as long as Vegeta was there, his two disciples would not mistakenly think that they were invincible just because of a temporary victory. Therefore, in the end, the final battle of the conference took place between the two brothers, Krillin and Yamcha, as expected. In the end, Klin was more skilled and won the championship. Because Bulma was also a spectator at the match that day, after the match, everyone was invited by Bulma to visit the West capital. However, they did not expect that the people who had just arrived in the Western capital would be attacked by the Red Ribbon Army. If it was just the Red Ribbon Army, perhaps Bulma and Dr. Brief would not have been captured. However, a green monster with wings appeared at that time. Due to his powerful strength, Krillin was seriously injured and Yamcha was almost killed. It was thanks to Master Roshi that they were saved. But Bulma and Dr. Brief were taken away in the chaos. This was the origin of the chaotic scene that Vegeta saw when he arrived. Vegeta, the ones who injured Krillin and the others should be the demons under Lord Piccolo. More than 300 years ago, my master, Mutadu, and I once fought against them, so I won't make a mistake, Master Roshi said with a heavy face. If Lord Piccolo has really revived, it would be a disaster that could endanger the entire world. We must take a long-term view. Are you done talking, old man? If you are, I will go save Bulma. Vegeta had already caught Bulma's breath at this time, and after he said this, he flew out without hesitation. Looking at Vegeta, who disappeared into the horizon in an instant, Krillin said, "That guy, didn't he come here specially to save Bulma?" "Of course he does. That guy obviously likes Bulma," Wulong replied. The others also nodded. At this time, Vegeta had already seen the transport plane of the Red Ribbon Army that took Bulma away. In fact, if it were Vegeta in the past or even in the original world, he would not be able to feel Bulma's breath unless he was very close. Since Bulma can't control her energy, her combat power might not even be 5. But after Mr. Popo's guidance, Vegeta found that his control over his breath was indeed much better than before. He could even sense the aura of someone like Bulma who had no fighting ability. Once I have dealt with Lord Piccolo, I have to go back immediately. I didn't feel anything when I was practicing. After a walk around, Vegeta has increasingly realized how much Mr. Popo's guidance has improved him. At the same time, on the Red Ribbon Army's transport plane, the shrill screams had been going on for more than 10 minutes. "Let me go, you villains. Do you know who I am? If my boyfriend Vegeta finds out that you have captured me, you will all die." General White, who was sitting in the took off his headphones and said helplessly to a subordinate with a hedgehog haircut, "Guo, can't you control that girl's mouth?" "General, we can't do anything. Don't forget that they said we must bring them back to headquarters safely." Soldier Chuo shrugged helplessly. "How about letting that guy outside take care of it?" White pointed at a green figure outside the transport plane. Chuo shook his head quickly. "General White, that's the demon tribe. How dare we give it orders?" General White had no choice but to stand up and take out his energy gun. "Do I have to come here in person in the end?" He walked into the transport hold at the back, and immediately saw Bulma, who was still screaming, and Dr. Brief, who was looking at his daughter as if he was watching a show. "Little girl, shut up right now, or I'll kill you." General White gestured with his gun. "Ha, if you have the guts, just try it. If you kill me, my boyfriend will bury all of you with me." Bulma yelled. "Bulma, forget it. Vegeta is not really your boyfriend." Dr. Brief advised. "Dad, please stop destroying my stage." General White sneered and said, "What, Vegeta? Can he be stronger than that monster outside? Don't forget that your companions were defeated by him just now. They are them. Vegeta is invincible. Not to mention that monster. It only takes him a second to destroy Lord Piccolo." "Oh, where's he? Did you ask him to come out?" General White laughed. But at this moment, a voice suddenly penetrated the cabin and went straight into everyone's ears. "Stop it. Give me my Bulma back. Chapter 37. The Great Devil Piccolo is offline early. Along with the sound just now, the transport plane made an emergency stop and hovered in the air. General White, come and see. Hearing the shouts of his subordinate Juo, General White immediately walked to the cabin door, and Bulma secretly followed him. The two looked out of the transport plane window together and saw a person floating in the air, blocking their way. Huh? Is that Vegeta? Bulma looked at the figure in front of the plane in surprise, but because the other person was a little different from the Vegeta in her memory, she was not sure for a moment. General White, what should we do? This man can fly. Guo shouted in panic. Don't panic. It's just flying. We have flying monsters too. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone saw the demon named Dambalin flying over and blocking Vegeta. Dambalin looked at Vegeta with a proud expression. Who are you? How dare you stop the demons from doing their work? You're not Lord Piccolo? Vegeta looked at the clueless minion in front of him with confusion. Dambalin laughed. You actually know Lord Piccolo? Then you must have heard about how terrifying Lord Piccolo is, right? I am Lord Piccolo's subordinate, and I am working for him now. If you don't want to die, get out of here right now. Before Dambalin could finish his words, Vegeta raised his finger and pointed at him. Boom. In just a moment, Dambalin's eyes bulged out and his whole body exploded into powder. Humph. You're a worthless piece of trash. Vegeta sneered and then turned his gaze to the transport plane carrying Bulma. On the transport plane, the people of the Red Ribbon Army were already terrified. How could this happen? This guy actually killed the demons? General White. He's coming. Run. Run, you idiot. It's too late. He's hitting me. Boom. With a loud bang, the Red Ribbon Army's transport plane exploded into pieces. But in the thick smoke, Vegeta's figure quickly flew out. He grabbed Bulma in one hand and Dr. Brief in the other and brought them both to the ground safely. Bulma, you and Dr. Brief should go back to the West Capital first. After hearing Vegeta's voice, Bulma concluded that the young man who saved her was actually Vegeta. Vegeta, why have you changed so much? Has your tail grown back? That's because I am already 18. Once a Saiyan is 18, they will enter adolescence and many more. Bulma suddenly interrupted him. 18? You are 18 years old? Doesn't that mean you are 1 year older than me? I always thought you were younger than me. Bulma blushed a little. In the past, she always thought that Vegeta was younger than her, which made her feel embarrassed to have a crush on a younger brother. I didn't expect that Vegeta is 1 year older than her. And now Vegeta looks much more mature than before and really like a man. Bulma, you're blushing. Doctor. Brief suddenly said from the side. Dad. Bulma yelled, then looked at Vegeta. Vegeta, are you here specifically to rescue us? No way. Vegeta turned his head to the side. It was the gods who sent me down to deal with Lord Piccolo. Saving you's just a byproduct. Eh? Bulma said with a sly smile. Then why did I hear someone calling my Bulma just now? You must have heard it wrong, Vegeta said with a blushing face. Since you are all safe now, please go back to the Western Capital. I have to go deal with Lord Piccolo. And many more. Bulma stopped Vegeta and said, Are you going to the Red Ribbon Army's headquarters? If so, can you help me find some Dragon Balls? I heard that the Red Ribbon Army has already collected all 6. It depends on my mood. After saying this, Vegeta flew away without looking back. Doctor. Brief walked forward and said with a smile, Vegeta's stubborn demeanor hasn't changed at all. I think he came all the way here just to save you, father. Bulma blushed even more. On the other side, inside the Red Ribbon Army headquarters, King Piccolo, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly shook and then became listless. Damn it, my child, Dambalin, was killed. What? Staff Officer Black beside the Great Demon King Piccolo was surprised and said, Isn't Dambalin a demon that you carefully created? Even the number one killer Tao Pai Pai is no match for him. How could he be killed? Could it be that the martial arts people around Bulma did it according to the intelligence? Martial artist Pilaf's face turned pale instantly. Could it be that Vegeta who did it? Shut up. There was a cold light in Piccolo's eyes. It's just a dead child. I can give birth to more demons like Dambalin. Send someone to check what's going on first. I'll go and prepare to create new demons. After saying that, Lord Piccolo walked out of the headquarters. However, the people present did not know that Piccolo was indeed a manufacturing demon. But what he is going to create this time is his true descendant. Because of Dambalin's death, Lord Piccolo felt a strong sense of uneasiness in his heart. He already had a premonition that he might die. If he could find the last Dragon Ball and restore his youth, Lord Piccolo might not be in such a hurry to give birth to offspring. But now he had to prepare a way out for himself. Shortly after Lord Piccolo left, an air raid alarm suddenly sounded in the Red Ribbon Army headquarters. Staff Officer Black, who was at the headquarters, immediately asked, "What happened? Who sounded the air raid alarm?" Staff Officer Black. Radar detected something approaching rapidly. What? In the sky, Vegeta broke into the sky above the Red Ribbon Army headquarters like a meteor. He was high above, looking down at the base on the ground. Is this the headquarters of the Red Ribbon Army? Vegeta sneered, aiming at the base below and reaching his hands forward. Qigong waves shining with blue light were generated in the palm of his hand and fell to the ground like raindrops. Rumble. Each Qigong wave was like a small nuclear bomb, easily destroying everything inside the Red Ribbon Army headquarters. The huge base, which originally covered an area of several kilometers, turned into ruins in the blink of an eye. But Vegeta did not relax. In the explosion just now, he captured two dark shadows escaping from the headquarters. After a brief sense, Vegeta immediately confirmed that one of them was Lord Piccolo. The other black shadow had a weak aura, but it carried the disgusting demonic scent of Lord Piccolo. Vegeta only thought about it for a moment and guessed that it should be the offspring of Lord Piccolo. That is the Piccolo he knows in the future. Have you prepared a way out? That would be much more convenient. The figure flashed, and the next moment, Vegeta appeared in front of Lord Piccolo. Are you Lord Piccolo? You are so weak right now. Vegeta stared at Lord Piccolo seriously. After all, this was the first time he saw the real Piccolo, not the Piccolo from the original world. But compared to Piccolo, the Great Demon King Piccolo in front of him was so weak that even Vegeta could hardly believe that Piccolo was his descendant. You are the Vegeta that Pilaf was talking about. Lord Piccolo was also looking at Vegeta. The powerful aura emanating from the other party made Lord Piccolo feel deeply despair. He was only sealed for 300 years, so why did such a powerful human appear on Earth? This is not scientific at all. Damn it. If I could gather all the Dragon Balls, if I could regain my youth, okay? Vegeta heard Lord Piccolo's mumbling and laughed. What? Do you think you can defeat me if you find the Dragon Balls and restore your youth? That's right. I can definitely defeat you. If this body were to return to its most powerful younger self, I would definitely be able to kill you. Oh, Vegeta laughed maliciously. Then should I give you a chance and let you try it? What? Really? Piccolo was stunned for a moment. If he really had the chance, wouldn't he, however? Before Piccolo could finish what he was thinking, Vegeta suddenly sneered. Although I really want to give you a chance, unfortunately I've already seen you at your strongest, so I'll just have to trouble you to die like this. As soon as he finished speaking, Vegeta raised his right hand towards the Great Demon King Piccolo. What? Piccolo then saw a small energy bomb containing terrifying energy condensed in Vegeta's palm. Then, with a whoosh, a golden energy bomb burst out from his palm and engulfed Lord Piccolo in the next second. No one can kill me. In the light, accompanied by a crazy scream, the once invincible Lord Piccolo ended his life. Chapter 38. You should protect your own world. Vegeta, Bulma, and the others returned to the western capital almost at the same time. Not long after Bulma and Dr. Brief returned to their home in the west capital by plane, Vegeta flew back with 6 Dragon Balls found from the Red Ribbon Army. Knowing that Lord Piccolo and the Red Ribbon Army were all destroyed by Vegeta, a huge wave of anger rose in everyone's hearts that could not be calmed for a long time. Especially with Krillin and Yamcha, their faith was almost about to collapse. Before, the two of them tried their best but were unable to defeat a demon under Lord Piccolo. But Vegeta is just one person. Not to mention that demon, even the Great Devil Piccolo was easily dealt with by him. Compared with Vegeta, why did they spend almost 2 years practicing hard under Master Roshi? Looking at the 2 demoralized disciples, Master Roshi didn't know what to say. In this world, everyone has his limits. Vegeta is an alien who traveled through time and space and was reborn. It is normal that Krillin and Yamcha cannot compete with him. But if they continue like this, they might just give up on the path of martial arts. On the other side, Vegeta gave the Dragon Ball to Bulma and prepared to say goodbye. Vegeta, you're leaving now? Won't you stay a little longer? Bulma was a little reluctant. My training is far from over. As Vegeta spoke, his eyes caught sight of Krillin and Yamcha, who had dejected looks on their faces. Hey, Baldwin. And that idiot. What? Krillin and Yamcha both looked over. How on earth have you 2 been training during this time? You can't even defeat a demon. Give me a little more strength. Do I have to personally take action every time there is a crisis on Earth? My time is very precious. Krillin and Yamcha looked at each other and exchanged a wry smile. Yamcha said, Vegeta, Earth only has you? No matter how much Krillin and I train, we can never catch up with you. Krillin also sighed and said, Yeah, Vegeta, Yamcha and I will be your cheerleaders from now on. Useless trash. Vegeta suddenly raised his hand and knocked Krillin and Yamcha away with just his momentum. Don't forget, I'm a Saiyan. I will leave here and go to the universe. Although I have dealt with Lord Piccolo for you today, there will be more enemies in the future. If I am not on Earth by then, are you going to do nothing? Then I might as well kill you now, so that you won't die at the hands of those horrible guys later. Bulma saw Vegeta's murderous look and said angrily, Vegeta, Krillin and the others are our friends. Bulma. Master Roshi quietly pulled Bulma aside and told her to stop talking. Krillin knelt on the ground and said unwillingly, It's easy for you to say that, but we have reached our limit, Vegeta. We are not Saiyans, we can't be as powerful as you. The limit? You haven't even been to Galinta, and you think you've reached the limit? There are still many places in this world where you can become stronger. Galinta, Celestial Palace, King Kai's planet. Vegeta clenched his fists and said, You haven't been to those places, so what makes you say you've reached your limit? Your own world should be protected by you. Cheer up. Otherwise, next time we meet, be careful that I will kill you. Bulma, I'm leaving. After saying that, Vegeta looked indignant, turned around and flew away. Krillin and Yamcha's attitude just now made Vegeta very unhappy. Because once upon a time, he had lost his fighting spirit just like those 2 people. That was after the Cell Games. At that time, he almost lost his fighting spirit because of the death of Sun Wukong. Although his daily training in the gravity room remained unchanged, in fact, Vegeta had completely lost the motivation to become stronger. What's the point of becoming stronger without Sun Wukong as a competitor? He stays in the gravity room every day, but he doesn't know what else he can do. It is precisely because of this that when Majin Buu appeared later, there was already a clear gap between Vegeta and Son Goku. Vegeta must rely on the magician Babidi to get the strength to fight Son Goku. And when Vegeta saw in Hell that Son Goku could transform into Super Saiyan 3, he knew that it was impossible for him to catch up with his nemesis. Looking back now, if Vegeta had remained motivated after the Cell Games, perhaps when Goku turned into Kakarot, he would not have been helpless and forced to travel through time. That guy, why did you have to speak so harshly? What's your own world? It's as if he came from another world. Bulma pouted with a puzzled look on her face. Master Roshi looked very pleased and quietly said thank you in the direction Vegeta was leaving. Because he had already seen that because of Vegeta's words, Krillin and Yamcha seemed to have regained their fighting spirit. From their trembling fists, it can be seen that both of them are in a very uneasy mood at the moment. Master Roshi then comforted them, "Don't be discouraged. Vegeta is right. There are indeed many places in this world where you can become stronger. If you practice seriously, you may be able to reach his level." "Teacher, you are joking. There is no way we can catch up with a monster like that," Krillin said with his head down. Master Kame frowned, thinking that Krillin hadn't yet cheered up. But the next moment he knew he was wrong. Krillin raised his head, his eyes full of fighting spirit, and said, "But even if I can't catch up with Vegeta, I won't stop training." "Me too. I won't let that guy look down on me anymore. I want to tell him that I'm not a waste." Yamcha also stood up and said, Okay, Master Kame nodded with satisfaction. "Since you guys are willing to do this, I will take you to the Galen Tower that Vegeta mentioned first." "Well, we will practice well. Please lead the way, teacher." "These men." Bulma shrugged, not understanding what Krillin and Yamcha were so excited about. She turned to look at the Dragon Ball in her hand, wondering what wish she should make after collecting all 7 Dragon Balls. Researching science cells is too difficult. I need Shenron to help me. At the same time, near the ruins of the Red Ribbon Army headquarters, a figure was entering the ruins. "Am I having a nightmare? Why is this happening? Guo, Guo." The figure frantically searched every corner of the ruins, but all he saw were corpses. Every single member of the Red Ribbon Army, from the top brass to the lowest level soldier, had died in the explosion. Just when the figure was in despair, a hand suddenly emerged from the ruins. "Help me, it's you?" The figure recognized the other person, grabbed him who was already dying and asked, "Who did it? Who destroyed this place? Was it the Great Demon Lord Piccolo? Where is my son Juo? Yes, it's Vegeta. Who is that? Never mind. Whoever it is, I will take revenge. For my son, for the Red Ribbon Army." A little further away from the ruins of the Red Ribbon Army headquarters, a huge egg was breaking apart. Soon, a small green figure wearing a devil costume crawled out of the egg. "Father, I will avenge you. This world will definitely surrender to me." The little demon's voice was cold. Chapter 39 Mr. Bobo's Final Trial. In a blink of an eye, another half a year has passed. While Vegeta was concentrating on training in the Temple of Heaven, many things were happening on the ground. On the Galinta, it took Krillin and Yamcha 2 full days to finally climb to the top of the tower and meet the cat hermit. When they first met, both of them were shocked by the appearance of the cat fairy. They didn't expect that the fairy on the top of the tower would be a cat. "You actually underestimated me." "Vegeta received all the instruction from me," the cat hermit said, stroking his beard. This time, when Lord Piccolo was resurrected, he naturally kept an eye on the underworld the entire time, watching Vegeta destroy the Demon King. It also saw what Vegeta said to Krillin and the others, so it knew exactly what the two were up to. Sure enough, after hearing what the cat immortal said, Krillin and Yamcha looked at each other, put their palms together, bowed and said, "Please, cat immortal, guide us in our practice." Krillin and Yamcha were both very excited, just like Vegeta, who was following in his footsteps in this world in order to catch up with Son Goku. Now, in order to catch up with Vegeta, these two also hope to experience the training that Vegeta has undergone. "Cat Hermit, after you train them, let them come to the temple. Vegeta told me that Lord Piccolo left behind a descendant. He is right. The affairs of the Earth will ultimately need to be resolved by the Earth's own warriors. Popo and I will train them ourselves." The voice of the god Piccolo suddenly sounded in the ears of the cat hermit. The cat immortal was stunned for a moment, then nodded calmly. At this moment, the sky in front of the cat immortal suddenly turned dark. Is it the dragon? Did Bulma finally find the last Dragon Ball? Krillin and Yamcha looked at the sky in the distance and sighed. Before they set out this time, they heard Bulma say that she wanted to improve the Dragon Ball radar and find the last Dragon Ball. It seems that she did it. Shenlong. If I make a wish to Shenlong and ask it to make me as strong as Vegeta, do you think it can do it? Yamcha suddenly asked Krillin. Before Krillin could reply, a wooden cane hit Yamcha on the head. Oops. The cat immortal said with a straight face, let's not talk about whether your wish can be realized. Putting your hope of becoming stronger on the dragon, is this what you learned from Wu Qian? Wanting to become someone else, is this your martial arts? I'm sorry. Yamcha lowered his head in shame. Your determination to practice martial arts is still not strong enough. Get down and climb the Galen Tower again. Yes. And on the ground, the capital of the West. Bulma looked at the long-lost dragon in front of her and expressed her wish. Shenlong, give me an experimental computer that can perfectly simulate the reaction of Cyan SL changes. This wish is simple. As Shenlong spoke, a special-looking computer soon appeared in front of Bulma. Your wish has been fulfilled, so goodbye. With a flash of golden light, the dragon in the sky turned into 7 Dragon Balls and then shot into the distance. Bulma looked at the computer in front of her, and a smile appeared on her face. Now the experiment can continue. Ever since agreeing to Vegeta to study the S cells in the Saiyans, Bulma has been conducting related research. But she was a latecomer after all, and her progress was slow. So far, it has only been discovered that there is indeed a special cell of unknown purpose in Vegeta's blood. After many studies, she believed that this should be the S cells that Vegeta mentioned. But then, Bulma's research encountered a bottleneck. Because according to Vegeta, this S cell only responds to emotions. But now that the S cells have left Vegeta's body, they naturally cannot react to anything. Bulma couldn't carry the experimental equipment for Vegeta to accompany her in the research, so the research progress was stuck there. But now, with the computer given by Shenlong, it seems that all problems can be solved. Bulma, why didn't you just make a wish and ask Shenron to tell you the secret of S cells? Asked Dr. Brief, who was calling the dragon with his daughter. How can that be? Dad, are you underestimating my intelligence? I can figure out this kind of little thing by myself. Seeing his daughter commanding the robot servant to help take the computer away, Dr. Brief laughed at his wife and said, Bulma really cares about what Vegeta asked of her. Mrs. Brief also smiled and squinted her eyes. My dear, maybe Bulma will give us a grandchild earlier than Ty's. Time flies, and another half a year has passed. Vegeta's training in the heavenly temple seems to have reached its end. After this period of practice, he has already understood the various ways of using Kai under the guidance of Mr. Bobo. He also mastered the meditation practice of the god Piccolo. Even during this period, he had time to practice with the tail that had just grown back and overcame its weaknesses. In fact, as for Vegeta's tail, God Piccolo originally wanted to seal it for him directly to prevent Vegeta from experiencing something similar to what happened when he fought Kakarot Roman II, but was rejected by Vegeta. Because in Vegeta's opinion, this tail may be related to his future growth path. In the memories of the souls from another world that he had merged, there were actually 2 paths for the future growth of Saiyans. One is to master divine power in a world where the god of destruction exists, thus embarking on the path of becoming a demigod. The other is a route that takes one on the road to evolution through the tail in a world where the god of destruction does not exist. Both routes have their pros and cons, but both are paths that Vegeta has never taken before. He is not sure what choice he will make in the future, so it is better to keep the tail for now. That day, after finishing his meditation practice, Mr. Popo found Vegeta and said, Vegeta, You have completed all your practice at this stage. Finished? Vegeta couldn't believe it. I think I can still continue to practice. No, you have already mastered all the specific training methods. What you need next is to accumulate time and hone your own strength. Mr. Bobo explained calmly. So next, you need to take a final exam. After passing it, you can leave the Temple of the Gods. Final exam. Later, under the guidance of Mr. Popo, Vegeta continued to go down along the winding corridor of the temple. This was the first time Vegeta had been to this corridor. Although this temple of heaven is not big, its terrain is actually very complex. In the past, Vegeta mostly only moved around the Sky Temple Square, and this was his first time here. However, in his previous life, Vegeta had been to this area, and he remembered that the Spirit Time Chamber should be here. Mr. Bobo, are you going to take me to the Spirit Time Room? Not there. Mr. Bobo carried him on his back and walked in front, saying, "That is a training ground specially opened for you. You need to use all the skills you have learned in training to complete a special challenge. A special place for cultivation. Is there such a place in the Temple of the Gods? Could it be that time and space fantasy?" Vegeta suddenly exclaimed. He remembered that in the fused memory, there was indeed a special place in the Temple of Heaven. As far as I can remember, Krillin, Yamcha, Tien Shinhan, and Jiaozi once experienced a special training in a special room in the Temple of Heaven. In this room, the consciousness of the four of them entered a special illusion, and a fierce battle broke out with two lower-level Saiyan warriors. Could it be that this was the room Mr. Bobo was taking him to now? You know a lot. Mr. Bobo stopped and turned around. Is this also what you learned from the souls in the other world? Yes. Vegeta nodded. You guessed correctly. That is the room you want to go to, the spiritual spacetime room. As he spoke, Mr. Bobo suddenly opened a door at the side. Behind the door was a pitch-black space where one could not see one's hand in front of one's face. Go in, Vegeta. This is the place where you will undergo your final test. There, you will face an opponent that is impossible to defeat. Only by making use of everything you have learned can you pass the test. When Vegeta heard Mr. Popo say that he would meet an opponent that he could not defeat, his heart immediately trembled. However, he still walked in with firm steps. An impossible opponent? Isn't the purpose of traveling through time and space to defeat impossible opponents? Chapter 40, Spacetime Fantasy. Clang. Just as Vegeta stepped into the darkness, the door behind him suddenly closed. Vegeta was in the darkness and felt as if he was about to be swallowed by it. The next moment, Vegeta felt dizzy, his eyes went dark, and he lost consciousness. When he opened his eyes again, Vegeta found himself standing under a tree. Not far away, a group of familiar faces were singing and camping. Master Roshi, Bulma, Krillin, Ulan, even future Trunks and Son Gohan? This is Vegeta lowered his head and confirmed that he was still himself, but at this moment he seemed to be much older. Not only is his combat power far superior to his real-world self, it even seems like he can transform into a Super Saiyan at any time. How is this going? Didn't Mr. Bobo say that he would enter a fantasy world? Why is the current situation similar to when his soul traveled through time and possessed the body of Vegeta from another world? Vegeta, come over here and sing with us. Suddenly, Bulma's voice reached my ears. Seeing his wife standing next to future Trunks holding a little Trunks in her arms, Vegeta was in a trance and felt as if he had returned to his original world. He then walked over and took little Trunks from Bulma. You go sing, I'll just look after Trunks. Ugh. Hearing his words, Bulma and the others all widened their eyes as if they had heard something incredible. Vegeta, do you have a stomachache? Bulma asked. What's wrong with your stomach? Vegeta asked curiously. Then why do you seem different? As she said this, Bulma touched his forehead. You don't have a fever? If you keep talking nonsense, I'll leave, Vegeta said, blushing. All right, then just keep an eye on Trunks, and let's continue playing. Having said that, Bulma pulled the others to continue having fun. But it seemed that because of Vegeta's unexpected performance, she smiled a lot more than before. Vegeta frowned slightly as he looked at Trunks, who was still a baby in his arms. According to Mr. Bobo, he should have entered a time and space fantasy. But why did this illusion give him the feeling that it was no different from the real world? It was as if his soul had traveled through time again and arrived in a new world. There is such a magical place in the Temple of Heaven? While sighing, Vegeta decided to first figure out what the situation in this world is. Mr. Bobo said before that in this illusion he will encounter an enemy that is impossible to defeat. However, the peaceful scene before him did not look like there were any terrifying enemies. Thinking of this, Vegeta looked at future Trunks, who seemed a little out of place in the surroundings. He remembered that the child, because he came from a hopeless future, had always been unable to adapt to the environment that was completely different from his own time. Come to think of it, my experience after traveling through time is actually very similar to that of future Trunks. Vegeta sighed and waved to future Trunks. Trunks, come here. Father, what's the matter? Trunks asked curiously. I drank a little yesterday and now I seem to have lost some of my memory. Tell me what our situation is now. Lost my memory? Are you okay, father? I'm fine. Just answer my question. Okay, after listening to future Trunks' explanation, Vegeta realized that this illusion was indeed a place that seemed like a parallel time and space. The time period of this world should be sometime before the Cell Games. But unlike Vegeta's original world, the Cell Games do not exist in this fantasy world. Because in this illusion, Cell was killed by Vegeta himself. The divergence between the illusion and reality seemed to occur just when Cell absorbed No. 17. Because Vegeta in the illusion was not the same as he was in reality, allowing Cell to absorb No. 18 as well. Instead, he directly killed Cell with the power of the second level of Super Saiyan. As a result, the perfect form of Cell, which would have made the whole world despair, never appeared again, and the son Goku in this illusion is still alive. As a result, the whole world entered an era of peace ahead of schedule. Today's event is a celebration held by Bulma and the others to celebrate the elimination of Cell and the resolution of the android crisis. It turned out to be like this. After listening to future Trunks' explanation, Vegeta finally understood the current situation. But then he became a little confused. Since Cell is dead, there will be no enemies on Earth that can challenge him unless Majin Buu appears in the future. Could it be that the great enemy Mr. Popo was referring to is actually this world's Kakarot, or Son Goku? Trunks, where's Kakarot? It seems that Mr. Goku and Aunt Kai Kai went to register Mr. Gohan for a cram school. Cram school? Tusk. Vegeta couldn't help but snort coldly, and the old memories came back to him. It turned out that Sun Wukong before his personality changed was such a boring guy. But it's boring. It's better than turning into that evil Kakarot. Vegeta doesn't know now whether Goku's transformation into the evil Kakarot is destined to happen in every world, or is it a special case only in his world? If it's the former at this moment, Vegeta suddenly felt several strange auras rapidly approaching the Earth. He found that although his soul seemed to be possessed by Vegeta in this illusion, what he learned from Mr. Popo was not lost. So even though those auras were at least tens of thousands of kilometers away from the Earth at this moment, he could still feel them. Father, what's wrong? We have a visitor, Trunks guessed. While Trunks was wondering, the spaceship had already rushed into the atmosphere at an extremely fast speed. In terms of speed, this spaceship may even be faster than Frieza's army. It was not until the huge spaceship arrived that people in the park noticed these uninvited guests. Father, the aura on that ship, Trunks asked. Yeah, the cyan aura. Vegeta's eyes suddenly became serious. Could it be that the powerful enemy Mr. Bobo mentioned is on this spaceship? But judging from the strength of his aura, it doesn't seem like it. At this time, the spaceship had landed on the grass not far from them. Then, a large group of aliens in purple armor walked out of the spaceship and headed straight for Vegeta. Alright, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.